Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Vienna to our program conference 2025. Today, we are coming together to explore how we can take cooperation forward together, as we say in the conference title, from results to impact. How we can create real change for Central Europe by bringing together the right people with the right ideas to build on existing results. With this in mind, I have to say it's very nice to see so many familiar faces in the room and also numerous new ones that I haven't seen before that I reckon will be coming from cross-border programs and other projects. And let me also say hello to those that I do not see. That's the ones following us online on our applicant community and through the live stream there. We are very happy to have you all here from all across Central Europe. Now, some of you were with us already yesterday at the PowerPoint Karaoke and got a head start into this conference. I have to say it was a lot of fun and occasionally even informative. For example, for those that were not there, I know now a guy called Maurice, and I know that he likes to ride water slides all across Central Europe, across borders. But don't worry if you missed it and you don't understand who Maurice is. I'm sure we will hear from him a little later. We will come back to the PowerPoint Karaoke shortly after the coffee break and also hand out some very serious awards to the best performers of the night. So this takes me straight to the agenda of the day. For those with good eyes, please have a look. So what's ahead of us today? You can also just listen to me. It's maybe easier than trying to take out your binoculars and try to read this. We will start with 2 welcome addresses, followed by a keynote speech by a true Central European. And this one will be followed then by a panel discussion in which we will look into how to further build the resilience of regions through cooperation. After lunch, well, that's too fast. After the coffee break, after the coffee break, we will then revisit the highlights of the PowerPoint Karaoke, as I said, and then we will finally dive deeper into our upcoming call for capitalisation. Now, then we will have a very nice coffee break, lunch break, sorry. We will have it at Orangerie. With the weather like this, it's perfect. You will be able to sit outside in the sun, have a good time, network a lot, eat well. If you're in Vienna, unfortunately, the live stream will end at this time, I have to say. And after the lunch break, there is then a series of parallel workshops in which you can discuss already existing outputs and results from a variety of projects. And there's also one workshop session dedicated to program capitalization management, which is especially set up by our partner organization Interreg for program authorities and policymakers. So this is all coming after lunch. But before we now move into the official opening, let's do a quick warm-up using Slido, our interactive tool of choice in Interreg programs, which you surely know. But we brought 2 questions for you that will make you familiar with the tool and help us also learn a bit more about who's attending today and what your expectations are from today. So please grab your phones, enter slido.com, and the hashtag cooperation is central, or I see many of you taking out the phone, scanning the QR code if that's more convenient for you, and it will take you straight to the 2 questions. The first question is, what describes your role in Interreg best? While you're answering this, I think it's a perfect time to explain who I am and what my role is. As you might reckon by now, I will be leading you through today's morning sessions as the moderator of the conference, and my name is Frank Schneider. I'm responsible for communications and public policy at the Joint Secretariat of Interreg Central Europe. So let's have a look who we have with us today. 81 answers. By the way, there's more than 100 people following us on the live stream. Please also put your vote up here. So this is not about the people in the room alone, but this is also the people online following us on the applicant community. 140 answers nearly. So we have like roughly a third of transnational project partners, similar numbers from cross-border and transnational Interreg projects, both at once. Pure cross-border project partners, we also have 16%. A fifth are program representatives and some others, and policymakers hidden at the bottom. There's also a few of those. So that's very good to see. Let's come maybe to the next question. We have 180 feedbacks already. What are your expectations for this event? There's a word cloud. Just drop a few words into this and let's see what we can do for you today. Networking for sure. I mean, we started with that yesterday. We had a very long dinner break in between the presentations for you to network a lot. I hope it worked out. We will have ample opportunity today in the coffee break, of course. There is also the lunch break, which is an extended one before we start with the workshops. So hopefully there's a lot of time for you to network at this event. Information for sure. You will learn about the capitalization call and synergies. Whether you will find lead partners, I hope so. I'm pretty sure there's a couple of lead partners among us. We didn't ask for that before. And ideas for the call, partnerships, entering new partnerships. Yeah, I think we can work on that. I like enjoy and learn. That's the good thing. It's about entertaining ways of learning how to do things better. And this is clearly what we would like to do. So thank you for your feedback. We'll keep those expectations in mind as we move through the day. Let's now open the conference officially, though. For the welcome addresses, I'm honored to give the floor first to Christiane Bresnik, our head of the managing authority from the city of Vienna, and to Stella Arneri, director at the Ministry of Regional Development and EU Funds of the Republic of Croatia. Please welcome the two.
Okay. So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, here at the conference of the Central Europe program on site in Vienna, but also all that are looking to us online on their screen. I'm together here with Stella to give you a welcome address from me from a program side, and Stella being Croatia being chairing our monitoring committee this year. So welcome also, and you will I will start, and I will be followed by Stella. So. It is May, it is finally a warm day, and May is of course important month where we have a lot of European festivities that we had also in Austria this year. It's a particular year because we are also celebrating the 30 years of accession of Austria to the European Union. So we are also proud that in this month we have embedded this conference here. It is now 3 decades that Austria is being very active in the European policy programs, and the city of Vienna in particular has also taken immediately the opportunity of Interreg, of cooperation, how it was called in former times, community initiative and whatnot, because being in this geographic location, we have already seen that it's very important to build up the networks with our many member states that are neighboring to us, and the European programs and the policies that were developed gave us a very, very important and valuable topics and area where to start our activities. So I see in the room many colleagues from programs that are also very active and help to make Interreg one of the valuable programs that brings the European added value to the territory, but not only the program authorities, in particular the many project partners that are here today. You are the ones that bringing our programs and our policies into life. So also thank you for your engagement until now, for all the many outputs, results, and impact that you have already brought to Europe, in particular to Central Europe program area, where we are here today, also with the cross-border programs. Coming to today's conference, we will give you information on our last call from the programming period. It's the 4th call. It will be again a strategic one. We have done a strategic call as a last call also in the previous funding period. This time we are focusing on Interreg. So we are focusing in strengthening the impact of cooperation and focusing on cross-border programs and the transnational Central Europe program to try to combine the forces and making synergies, getting synergies of the two strands. So in order to transfer results, to scale them up, to roll them out, you will hear a lot more about that. So I think we have seen your expectations on the screen, and some of them I think we can give you enough food for thought and information. So I encourage you that you take the most out of this day, that you network, that you really take part in the workshops and discuss with your colleagues about the call. And with this,
thank you very much.
I give to Stella.
I think it's on.
You have to change them. This one, it's not switched on, the other one, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Christiane. Good morning to you all, dear colleagues, dear friends. It is really a pleasure and honor to greet you on this important gathering on behalf of Croatian Ministry of Regional Development EU funds, but also on my personal behalf. So allow me first to extend a warm welcome to all of you, representatives of European Commission, Interreg programs, also national authorities, but first of all and most important, the project community, because your presence and commitment, it is truly what bring Interreg to life. And 2 years ago, at the previous program conference, our former minister, Ehrlich, was here and had the opportunity to deliver the keynote speech. And what he stated is that territorial cooperation will be crucial not just for Croatia, but for all Europe to navigate the challenges ahead. So I think that is really, those words are more relevant today than ever before. And cooperation of regions is really necessity if we are to build, to share resilience of our communities urgently that is needed. So Europe now is facing really new and accelerating transitions like green, digital, demographic, economic. And what require us is to work to exchange knowledge, but also to align strategies, and scale up what works, what really works. And cooperation in this context is crucial, of course. As a country that joined EU just over a decade ago, Croatia has experienced firsthand how cooperation strengthens not only our institutions, but also communities and regions. And we are a committed partner in numerous cross-border programs, but also transnational. And in Central Europe, in this program, Croatian organizations are actively involved in a wide range of projects, from innovation, climate resilience, sustainable mobility governance as well. But we see a growing interest among Croatian partners in better aligning those two strands of cooperation to achieve stronger and more cohesive regional impact. So I believe this strategic orientation has great potential to significantly enhance the added value of European funding in the years ahead. And I especially welcome this strategic focus of today's event, moving from results to impact. Because capitalization is a crucial step forward. Also, the upcoming capitalization call is timely and forward-looking initiative. It reflects the maturity of the program evolution, building on a solid foundation of results and shifting towards systematic change. Also, I would like to say that today's agenda is really inspiring. I love it because I'm glad to see the workshops dedicated to thematic synergies, offering opportunities to exchange experiences and shape future project concepts. And looking ahead, I would also like to highlight the importance of a strong and well-financed cohesion policy beyond 2027. And it remains a cornerstone, of course, of European solidarity. And Interreg is one of the most tangible expression, valuable instrument. So let me conclude by congratulating the program on the strategic direction and its inclusive spirit. I mean, we really direct our sight on Central Europe as a role model Interreg program. And I wish you all a fruitful day, especially, I mean, full of insight, inspiration, and many meaningful connections. Thank you.
Thank you very much for these inspiring words, for being such strong believers in cooperation for so many years, and for putting today into its context, saying why the call is strategic, why is it important from the managing perspective, but also from the perspective of the chairing country of our monitoring committee. So thank you very much again to both of you. See you later. Yeah. Next, we will get inspired by someone with a Central European family history, someone who truly lives cooperation in a border region. Mr. Furio Honsel, Regional Councillor of Friuli, Venezia, Giulia, and former mayor of the city of Udine, a mathematician, politician, and tireless believer in the benefits of cooperation across borders. He will provide us with insights on concrete challenges in his border region and why more cooperation is needed to ensure a better future and the right to stay for the people in regions like his. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Professor Honsel.
So thank you very much, and a very good morning from me to all of you. So Honorable Head of Central Europe Interreg Program, Christiane Bresnik, Honorable Director Stella Arneri, distinguished representatives from all over Central Europe, dear moderator Frank Schneider, colleagues from academia, from local authorities, managing authorities, ladies and gentlemen, it is a privilege to address this distinguished audience, but I feel also the responsibility in setting the tone for this important conference at such a decisive moment for our common European future, as is the launch of a new call I am deeply thankful to Luca Ferrarese and his team for inviting me. I hope you did a good job. I made a good choice. I'm not, and you'll tell me later. And I wish all of you a very meaningful and memorable event, which in fact started already yesterday night, yesterday evening, with a very creative, cross-fertilizing, but also mind-boggling karaoke event. But first, let our compassionate thoughts go to our fellow human beings, young and elderly, who are being killed in various parts of the world, Gaza, Ukraine, Sudan. Even in this very moment in which I'm speaking, we're all responsible for not doing enough to protect the lives of each and every one of them. We will be held responsible for our indifference. There can be no motivation whatsoever for losing a single life, for any life is invaluable. I have always been inspired, and I think all of us should, by the following quotation from Simone Weil, the philosopher, the sister of the mathematician, La personne est le sacré. The quoting is the following: "You do not interest me. No man can say these words to another without committing a cruelty and offending against justice. At the bottom of the heart of every human being from earliest infancy until the tomb, there is something that goes on indomitably, expecting in the teeth of all experience of crimes committed, suffered, or witnessed, that good and not evil will be done to them." I don't think these dramatic and uncertain times, but also interesting times that we're living in, can be better expressed than by another famous quotation from A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens, which I presume most of you have heard already and even used. But please bear with me, because it brings up an issue that I want to address in a short while. So the quotation is the following. It's the opening, actually, of A Tale of Two Cities by Dickens. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom. It was the age of foolishness. It was the epoch of belief. It was the epoch of incredulity. It was the season of light. It was the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope. It was the winter of despair. We had everything before us. We had nothing before us. We were all going direct to heaven. We were all going direct to the other way. Well, we do not want to go the other way, and the very reason that brought us here is that. Indeed, many of the very concepts which give form to our plans and action are in fact ambivalent and often carry opposite connotations and potentially generate rebound effects. I'll give you a few examples. Borders. Although not all European languages make the distinction between border and frontier, many, like I think Croatian, it's granica, also in German, Grenze. But in Italian, French, English, we have two. Their difference correlates, should be clear to all, I believe. The concept of border carries a notion of limit which may even not be overcome. Think about migrants, asylum seekers or unaccompanied minors along the cruel Balkan route and the issue of refoulement. The concept of frontier, on the other hand, as in the frontier of research, conveys the elation of being at the forefront of progress. Progress, mind you, not development, because the issue here is not quantitative. We need to conceive our common borders as frontiers of mutual discovery. I was very impressed by something that was on the slides yesterday, the karaoke, that said many people have, more than 60% of the people have not talked to their equivalent across the border. As I was rector, I wasn't in the 40%. Anyway, I was happy about that. So we mutual discovery and understanding is, of course, we have to understand borders as bridges. The cities of Nova Gorica and Gorizia, which have been separated by the Iron Curtain, which cut in half the very square in front of the old train station for 40 years. This year, together, the two celebrate in unity the role of European Capital of Culture 2025. This is a paramount example, I think, of resilience through cooperation, which Interreg, a cross-border project, can boast to have actually helped. Sustainable energy, another ambivalent issue. I joined in 2008 from the very start the Covenant of Mayors, the 2020 Covenant of Mayors, for decarbonization, the reduction of carbon emissions, efficiency, climate change, and we did achieve the goal that thanks to our rigorous strategic action plan which we had put forward. But I also see problematic rebound effects emerging in many of our political actions in these sectors. Just consider solar panel fields. Efficiency does not seem to drop energy consumption. It may even increase it. It can lead to consumption of valuable agricultural land. We're actually fighting in trying to pass bills to defend agricultural land. And nobody ever, I think I've seen only very, very little research on the possible micro and macro climate changes due to overheating because of the reduced albedo that, of course, solar panels produce. And learning itself is very ambivalent. Of course, knowledge is too static. Human as well as non-human objects are processes. And so for this reason, knowledge has to be constantly critically scrutinized, constantly adapted. It's a very crucial concept here in your program. We need also to unlearn. Unlearn, first of all, prejudice, unlearn our fixed recipes, especially when we want to capitalize. And always we have to think out of the box. Our project need to be permanent laboratories. Dialogue and cooperation, of course, are crucial to critical thinking. I have been already introduced, but let me tell you again that all my four grandparents, but one that came from Croatia, actually were born in Trieste in the 19th century. Which was at the time the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and their parents came from all over Central Europe, Germany, Austria, Slovenia, Croatia, and Italy also. One. I was a mathematician, I'm still am a mathematician who worked in his early days in various continents. But what brought me back to the land of my ancestors is something that I want to share with you, because I think it's a paramount example of resilience. In 1978, the Friuli region was hit by a tremendous earthquake. There were something like 1,000 fatalities. It could have been the coup de grace for a region that was plagued by migration since the 19th century. You might all know Jacuzzi. Well, they were just very, very poor plumbers that worked in the outskirts of Udine. But then they moved, but they have been also very successful. But this tremendous strategy was actually, turned into a renaissance. The slogan at the time was that people should come out from the earthquake head first, as the alive people used to be extracted from the rebels, rather than feet-wise, as the dead bodies were extracted from the rebels. So the earthquake should not be the cause of a final wave of migration, but rather a bold start in what at the time was the emerging knowledge economy. And in fact, what was one of the main institutions that was established in Udine at the time, it was a university. And I was appointed, of course, professor of automata theory some 10 years later. And looking back at this momentous reconstruction, why was it so successful? Well, because of the cooperation, actually a decentralized cooperation among the communities, the central government, and of course also international partners. Europe was not there at the moment, but of course there has been a lot of cooperation with the neighboring countries. Then as has been already said, I served as rector, as mayor. But coming, why is this important? Because coming from academia, transnational cooperation was always obvious for me. Research in isolation is inconceivable since the Middle Ages, I think. The first European project I was involved in was in 1988, a basic research action in software verification. And since then, I have been involved in many actions, many projects. I can't even remember. But once elected mayor, I brought this vision also to my municipality. And I remember the first project that I grabbed at the last minute. It was called RomaNet. There was at the time a huge resentment in my city against Roma informal settlements. Huge resentment. And this RomaNet, for me, was some kind of some place to hold on to. And it brought 5 cities in Europe that designed an action plan for promoting, of course, equal opportunities and inclusion. Mind you, not integration, because integration is not respectful to minorities. You can speak about inclusion, but remember, progress does not mean massification. I still remember very vividly an extraordinary experience. I don't know if you ever have attended a playback theater. Well, so you tell your story, and the actors then enact your story. And I remember this company of Roma actors in the 5th district of Budapest, which is the one with the largest Roma minority, really giving me a tremendous experience of my history enacted by them. Playful. It was like a karaoke, but a different kind. I mean, it's some kind of creative experience. So this long introduction finally brings me to the main concept, which I think is crucial in the current times. But in order to introduce it, I will use the legacy of another European project, which was called the Playful Paradigm. It was a transfer project where we were experiencing games, both cooperative, competitive, puzzles, and others, as a means to overcome all social and language and cultural barriers in order to promote healthy lifestyles as well as scientific and environmental awareness. It stemmed from the WHO project Healthy Cities and its adage, which was make the healthy way the easy way. Because if you want to promote a healthy lifestyle, but you make it difficult, then of course it doesn't work. So can you put on the first slide, please? Someone, please. The first slide. So I want to start with this puzzle. Oh, yeah, odd one out. Okay, now, so, you know, odd one out, you have now each of these columns identifies a person, and each of the rows is some physical characteristic, height, kind of hair, build up, and say color of the eyes. So who is the odd one? You can find it, but I will tell you what the solution. We don't have time because I'm already probably. So the answer is that the last one is the odd one, and it is the odd one because he is the most similar to all the others. And what is the quality that all the others share? That they have a larger amount of differences. So you see, unity in diversity is precisely one of the slogans of the European Union. Now, the second puzzle, I'm supposed to shock you, is my expected date of death as a citizen of Central Europe. You know, a great mathematician, Cardano, computed his date of death, so I also wanted to do the same. Cardano was very unhappy when this date was approximating and he was still in good health. So he stopped eating, but then he said, well, who cares? That will be the only theorem I will prove wrong. So that's how it went. But this is actually a political message. Because, of course, it shows you that there are huge differences, but there are even huge differences within our communities. And when we talk about health equity, There are very important researchers in London where the life expectancy is associated to the tube stop. According to where the underground stops, at each station you lose a few years of life expectancy. So within our communities, this is actually something that shows the differences. And so this is something that oh, by the way, you have to decide which is your country. Actually, as a citizen of the world, there are, even in the so-called wider European regions, there are nations, countries, which have a much, much lower life expectancy. But anyway, your expected date of birth, I assure you, something that is positive about this inaugural speech, will have increased after the speech. You know, this is a mathematical issue. Unless somebody dies actually during the speech, which of course it's quite unlikely. Yeah. So the concept I want to put forward is equity. It's an old age issue. I have a lot of quotations here, but I will just mention one. In Plato's Republic, at some point, Glaucon, the sophist, asks Plato and says, "Now listen," he says, "I say that justice is nothing other than the advantage of the stronger." Well, it takes Plato 10 books in the Republic to try and disprove this. I will give a disproof in a short while, but it is a major issue. But remember, only what you count actually counts. So how do you measure inequality? Well, you measure inequality essentially with some indicators. One of them is the Gini index. Can you put the, yeah. So the Gini index, which you might have seen, it's the little map there. So you essentially, here you plot the cumulative percentage of the global income with respect to the percentage of the population ordered by income. So if you have the diagonal of the square is complete, is perfect equality, and that curve there indicates how the wealth is distributed. So the larger the difference between the diagonal and the actual curve provides what is called the Gini index. There's the definition. Here is how the Gini, so it should be zero if we are in an equitable society. And well, in the world from 1820 up to 2020, these are the estimates, has ranged around 0.6. So this gives a measure. But it's quite interesting to measure it also in the Central Europe countries. This is quite interesting. Can someone put the slide, next slide? Yeah. No, the other one? The next one, please. Yeah. Here it is. You see, so Italy is not performing all that well. Slovenia is performing very well, and well, so if you go on Eurostat, you have lots of very interesting. I recommend going on in Eurostat to have a look, and I compliment all those who contribute carefully to the Eurostat statistics. So I leave it to you. But now, why is it important? Can we go back to the previous slide, please? Yeah, thank you. So this is something that, to me, disproves Glaucon's thesis, Glaucon's tenet. You see, why is it a negative to have a non-equitable society? Well, because you can do linear regression, and you discover that the more the society is unequal, the more dysfunctional it is. And it's very interesting that even if you take the top percentiles, that is the privileged, the privileged are better off in more equitable societies than they are in unequal societies. And that's essentially you can, I think that will be the last slide, so we can go back to the dandelion, yeah, please. Yeah, thank you. Becoming mayor, I wanted to. It was a big issue, health equity. So within my city, so I had to find some proxy indicator of health equity, and so I used the DMFT, which is decayed mist-filled teeth, and also a concentration index in young children, first grade children. And what I discovered was that there were huge differences in this proxy variable, even taking two schools that were less than 1 kilometer apart. So our communities are indeed very unequal. Now look, there is no resilience without equity. And there is no equity without cooperation. And equity, therefore, should be our main political drive in current times. And I think that the Interreg projects do provide such tools. But the issue of equity is what makes me extremely skeptical of financial incentives. I am constantly fighting financial incentives. You give incentives for, I'll give you a few examples. You give incentives for installing solar panels, but only citizens who actually own a roof can benefit from them. Furthermore, the personal assets, the value of their personal assets is increased, and their energy bills are lowered, while those who don't own a roof get even poorer. We must be careful, because money goes where money is. Financial incentives, for instance, for refitting homes in energy-efficient buildings might increase energy poverty if we do not work out the details of all the consequences. Similarly, incentives for electric cars can amplify their benefit. You know, for instance, in my city, I myself made this mistake. You actually give free parking to those who have an electric car. It's totally unreasonable. It increases inequity. Besides, what we normally use politically comes also from VAT, which are flat taxes. If you look, flat taxes, like flat taxes from revenues. So, in fact, these taxes affect the weak sectors of our society more than the richer parts. The French economist Piketty, that you might have read, says that Europe in the 21st century is similar to what was Europe in the 17th century, because heritage is what you inherit is so important. Inherited wealth is more significant than wealth that derives from work. We end up prizing people who have rather than people who work. Investment revenues I computed that, are higher than working revenues in my region. I consider inequality the grand adversary in our current times. It is an evil problem. It's not just the divide between rich and poor. What mathematically is in play here is the first derivative. It is the gap that is widening. There is an emerging class of what are called working poor. The conflict is between impoverished and enriched. And the conflict is between winners and losers. And we have to think about losers if we want to be competitive, not only about winners. And this issue of inequality, which is seriously affecting social cohesion within our communities, is even more aggressive among regions within our countries. The very notion of the right to stay has its roots in the inequalities among the NUTs, using the language of Eurostat. NUTs are the units of analysis. Brain drains, depopulations of inner areas, such as mountain areas, are the obvious consequences of regional inequalities within our nations. We are witnessing a new wave of dangerous urbanization. And look at the paradox. We call them inner regions, and they are border regions. They should be called outer regions, but in fact, outer regions are inner regions. And isolation was always the main risk of border regions, but today this risk has yet another motivation. In coming here, I wanted to experiment this train. It's called the Mikotra train, that is funded by our regional government, and I am about to finish, and it is actually very useful for transport connectivity. So there are many more things that I would like to talk about. Of course, how to overcome cultural, bureaucracy barriers, language. There are many important keywords that I have not touched upon. One of them is migration. Migrants. When I was mayor, that was one of the main problems I had to address, and I think basically my city was heaven. It's not yet. It's not any longer. But there are many other issues like on migrants, how to contrast the exploitation of migrants in the labor market by gangmasters, organizations, in agriculture and heavy industry. I didn't talk about artificial intelligence. I didn't talk about bioethics. They're all, of course, extremely. Let me just mention this that really worries me is the very low turnout in elections. This mistrust of politics. Again, someone asked Socrates, but why should a virtuous person go into politics? I mean, after all, he will lose his friends, and his family will be somehow not at the center of his interest. And he says, well, it's much better to have a virtuous person someone gets elected anyway. Someone wins anyway, so it's much better to have a virtuous person. But this is a very serious problem. Finally, I would like to congratulate all of you working in Interreg projects for the amazing achievements that you have made possible in our regions. And I will end this speech with a final quotation, but this time by Albert Camus, from L'Homme Révolté, which is appropriate, I think, for a mathematician and a politician. And the quotation is the following: even by his greatest effort, a human being can only propose to diminish arithmetically the sufferings of the world. But this, of course, is an effort worth trying. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hansel, for extending also my lifetime. I hope by more than 5 minutes, because you took those away again from me. So, what I take from your keynote speech, thank you very much for these very interesting insights. Transnational cooperation is visionary. This is clearly something, you said it in the beginning, you said it at the end. What I found really interesting is that we have to overcome the limiting effects of borders. We have to unlearn what we know, not to build the capacity. Or in other words, maybe we should build our capacities in ways that we do not know yet and unlearn the trodden paths. This is also what I found interesting. And you said clearly Interreg is the laboratory to do so, where you can do this, where you can come together and where cooperation can help to increase equity, not only in border regions, but I suppose coming from a border region, especially in border regions. So thank you very much again for these insights. We will come back to this later. I'm sure there will be feedback and comments and questions to you. We will take those later. You can join again Slido, also online. When you're following us online, if you go to slido.com, or if you're online in the applicant community, you already see it in the window that you will have open, where you follow the conference. You can put your questions already for Professor Hansel, but we will take them only after the panel discussion, all in one go. And this now takes me further in the agenda. Let's now dive into what we just heard in the keynote speech and reflect on this a little bit and also go beyond that. Maybe a few words from my end to put also into perspective what Mr. Hansel said. Central Europe is a complex functional area crossed by 15 internal borders. Whether these regions now are in or outer, I don't know. I would have to think about this now. So what I know is that these borders are addressed by 22 cross-border programs and by multiple, I think it's in total like only for Central Europe, 6 transnational programs that are tackling these negative effects of borders that still make it harder for regions to grow and for their citizens to access the services and profit from the opportunities they need. So in our panel discussion, I would like to now further explore how transnational and cross-border cooperation can help us move from fragmentation to resilience, from, as we have in the conference title, from results to real impact. For this discussion, I will be joined by Mr. Maury Gilland, Head of Unit at DG Regio at the European Commission, by Ms. Agnieszka Gintow-Giewaltowska, Deputy Director at the Ministry of Development, Funds and Regional Policy in Poland, by Mr. Stefan Meyer, President of the NICE region and District Administrator of the Görlitz district in Germany, Mr. Thomas Huemer, who is Regional Coordinator for Interreg Czech Austria in Upper Austria, but also the representative of regions in our Interreg Central Europe program, Austrian regions, I should probably say, and Ms. Irene McMaster, Senior Knowledge Exchange and Research Fellow at the European Policies Research Center. Please welcome them up on stage. I'm not sure the microphones are switched on, so yeah, this one is. So let's begin by returning to the challenge. What specific obstacles do our panelists see for the right to stay in border regions? I would like to start maybe with you, Mr. Meyer, because you come from a similar experience as Mr. Honsel, also from the local and regional level. From your perspective as a regional decision maker in the Czech, German, Polish triangle, can you relate to this idea of more equity is needed through cooperation? Do you have the same worries also that were expressed by Mr. Honsel? And what kind of border-related issues hold specifically your region back today and make it difficult for people to stay in that region?
First of all, is it on?
I think it is on, yeah.
Okay. First of all, I want to thank for the invitation here, and I'm deeply impressed, Mr. Honsel, for your keynote speak, because it was it went in my heart. And I come from the triangle between Czech Republic, Poland, and Germany. I can be within 10 minutes in 3 countries, and cooperation is our daily business. And first of all, I want to say that Interreg founding was an enormous driver for over the last decades to develop this region. But I also think that the political ambition is not the same at the administrative reality. So we have a lot of challenges in the daily business, and the policy is on the one side, and the ground administrative is on the other side. For example, we have so many national-oriented legal affairs or the institutional frameworks, and that are hindering this development to go further. And of course, the programs are more complex, and it's sometimes difficult for small and medium-sized companies, or for the municipalities, or for the civil society to join the programs, because there is a barrier, a border sometimes to use them. For example, concerning transport infrastructure, health services, emergency services, and also the education sector, because education is national, or in our country, in Germany, it's a regional organized system, and it's necessary to have a full sight view on this topic, because we only have 180 degree that I can see, and I need 360 degree, and therefore it's a great challenge to do this and to get more and stronger cross-border governance structures. For example, the European grouping of territorial cooperation is something we can use, but it's the Polish side, it's very difficult to use it because they don't want it, but it's necessary to build these strong governance structures. And I also think that every rural country has it not so easy in this kind of urbanization. Young people want to go to the big cities and don't want to stay in the rural areas. I don't think that's lack in the border regions. It's all over the world this way, and we have to give something for them. For example, in our country, we have this transition because of the phasing out of the coal, and the German Center for Astrophysics is coming. We have a common institute on big data, the Casus Institute with the Polish sector, and this is what is necessary to hold young people in rural areas, that they have their opportunities for the future, for building their families there, and we are working on this topic, and therefore it's necessary to have also the decisions in the regions and not only in the capitals. We need Interreg further, and we need also the small projects to get bigger Interreg projects. That's I want to say for this question.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. Mr. Gilland, we heard now and also in the keynote speech before how important Interreg is for ensuring this future right to stay, to change the regions so that people have more of an incentive to stay and not do the same as I did, because I'm from the German-Dutch-Belgium border area, from a small village, and I left for big cities very soon after I finished school. So how can we make people stay in these regions? What is the role of Interreg there? And what do you still as the most limiting effect of borders for regional development?
Thank you, and thank you as well for the invitation. Good morning, everyone. In a way, your question there is almost, you could boil it down to, why do we still need Interreg? In a sense. You know, we've had Interreg for 35 years. Have we not solved everything out there? Have we not addressed all these challenges that exist along the borders? And I wanted to start with one little example, not too far from where you were just talking about, on the Belgian-Dutch border. Some of you may have heard of the fascinating twin towns of Baarle-Hertog and Baarle-Nassau on the Belgian-Dutch border. And there they have a Belgian commune on the Dutch side of the border, divided into 22 individual pieces of Belgium inside the Netherlands. And, because that's not complicated enough, there are 7 bits of the Netherlands inside the Belgian bits. And you have situations where if you're driving that way, you're in the Netherlands, and if you're on the same road going in that direction, you're in Belgium. Some houses are in 2 countries at once, which created some interesting challenges for where do you pay income tax. And this is a community that is as integrated as it's possible to be. They have a single local authority building, which they built on the border, obviously. You have a single police office, which the border runs right through the middle of. And if you ever get a chance to visit, you have the joy of receiving a presentation from the local authorities in their presentation room with the border marked right down the middle of the room. So you can sit in both countries at once. Or, if you're like me, you can hop from one side to the other about 500 times during the presentation. But,
Yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah. Now, the reason I wanted to emphasize this is when you do listen to their presentation, despite how integrated they are, despite how much work they have put together, they still have an enormous list of tasks that they need to address because of the existence of the border. It's only around a year or so ago that they finally managed to integrate waste collection in the region, in the commune. Before that, they had two, a Belgian and Dutch, waste collection on different days, driving up and down all the same streets. Because you were going down one street and going, Dutch, 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 oh, Belgium, we'll leave that bin, we'll get the next one. So even on integrated borders there, even where they've addressed so many practical questions, we still need Interreg. And what it provides is exactly the answer to that right to stay question, which is such a priority for the new Commission. You'll have seen it emphasised by a number of the commissioners, including our Executive Vice President several times. It's about finding solutions, offering ways to ease and resolve the difficulties and the lifestyles of the citizens in those areas. In healthcare, in management of risks, in organised tourism, in all these areas, improving the quality of life of the citizens where they want to live and where they want to stay. It needs to be adapted to the needs of the individual area. This is one of the points that I always emphasise, is that every Interreg programme has to be unique because it has to be adapted to the territory that it is serving. And this is, I think, at its heart, what we try and deliver through Interreg. And hopefully, that's what people see when they see Interreg programs and they see Interreg projects. This isn't something that is imposed or developed top-down. It's about creating something that the citizens themselves recognise and need.
Thank you, Mr. Gilland. Now, I'm not sure whether in Poland you have an equally complex community as they do have it in Belgium. Sounds a bit to me like Asterix in Belgium and the Madhouse. So glad to hear that they are very integrated and find solutions already. So Ms. Gintow-Giewaltowska, from a national perspective in Poland, what types of negative border effects are still a reality in your country, and how do you address them through national, regional, and European policies?
Thank you for this question, and good morning to everyone. Thank you also, Frank, for a correct spelling of my, pronouncing my surname. I know it's a challenge, thanks to my husband, but you managed, you did it very well. Yes, thank you for this question, the possibility to share the Polish perspective concerning the border. And there are three factors influencing the border. It is the geography. Poland is in the center of Europe, so we are bordering the EU countries and non-EU. We've got mostly natural borders, like the Baltic Sea, mountains, rivers. And these borders, in terms of the history, are quite new. They were set up after the Second World War, and they were almost closed for 50 years. Due to the Iron Curtain, due to the influence of the Soviet Union on our country, and it was a gradual process of opening these borders. But nowadays, we've got borders with Ukraine or Russia completely closed. So here is a history not so far away. And the third factor is economic and social issues. Due to the statistic data, our bordering regions, there's a low economic activity, and the population, unemployment rate is doubled comparing to the average of the whole country. So it also influences the border. So challenges, looking at it globally, are maybe more or less the same as in other parts of Europe. So we've got this legal administrative regulations, different regulations across borders. We've got the language obstacles, worse access to services like, for example, emergency medical services, poor infrastructure. what is peculiar in case of Poland, from my perspective, it is another factor, a new one. It is a geopolitical influence. And here I can distinguish different kinds of borders. So we've got a Schengen border with Czechia, with Slovakia, with Lithuania, where there is not problematic smooth flow of people, goods, and so on. We've got a quasi-Schengen border with Germany, because the German government introduced in autumn 2023 border controls, and it was still in place because the new government prolonged these restrictions. And it has a negative impact on the development of cross-border regions, cause problems in cooperation between companies, institutions, citizens, and the border traffic as such. It is a everyday life circumstances in which especially Polish citizens have to tackle because they are usually crossing this Polish-German border. Then we've got not Schengen yet, or future Schengen border with Ukraine, but still the war revealed a huge demand for new border crossings, for better accessibility by roads, by railways. So here is totally different perspective and different challenges, maybe not talking about this negative effects, but rather using this word challenges. And the last group of countries we are neighboring, it is never Schengen regions, so bordering countries. Those I'm talking about Russia and Belarus, so these aggressors on Ukraine. So due to threats, economical and social challenges, and growing migratory pressure, which was already mentioned, this region requires special attention in the future. So we've got new factors, new circumstances in which our regions or residents are in. So there are new challenges, not only the old one. And coming back to the second part of the question, how at the regional or national level we are trying to deal with these challenges, but looking at the policy, of course, in each strategic documents that we've got at national or regional levels, these border areas are marked, and we even indicate in documents. We called it areas of strategic intervention. So it is so these documents are seeing the border as such, but also indicated as a special areas to be addressed. And even currently, due to this situation on the eastern border, it is a border with Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus. We even marked it as a special and new areas of strategic intervention, and we even built a small, in case of the budget, program addressed to these regions, sub-regions, help them to mitigate these negative impacts stemming from closing the border. So it is more or less the situation that we observe now in terms of Polish borders.
Thank you very much. Poland, very much in the middle of Europe, I have to say, surrounded by borders. Something that Germany, as a situation, knows also very well, and many other countries in Europe and in Central Europe do know this situation. And also the challenges that you describe, I think we have all heard those, and the data shows this. Now, interestingly enough, the Commission started a huge exercise 1.5 years ago to find out from stakeholders how is it to live in border regions. And we were expecting, probably, at least I was expecting, people to say, yeah, it's really difficult, we have all these challenges, unemployment, etc., etc., etc. But then Ms. McMaster, you looked into all these reports that reached the European Commission, and I followed a webinar, I think about 2 weeks ago, and you started that webinar by saying, like, what you read in the reports are opportunities. Living in border regions is an opportunity. So maybe coming to the research perspective, how do you see the situation in borders, in inner border areas? Is this a challenge? Is it not a challenge? And what are the challenges, if there are the challenges? I think it's probably not on, maybe. Yeah.
Button. You can tell I'm an academic, not a technician. So I'm also a social scientist, not a mathematician, so tend to give you about a list of 14 different answers and then say it depends as well. So, but yeah, in terms of core challenges for border regions are so diverse, and that really came across in the consultation exercise that you referred to. And what's one of the great things about Interreg is it responds to that diversity. It picks up on both shared challenges and common issues, but also brings together diverse strengths and helps regions really realize where they stand out, where they're leading edge and can contribute more widely. And I think that was captured in the responses in the consultations. It did kind of surprise me. Partly it's a sort of methodological point about the people who are responding to a questionnaire on Interreg tend to be engaged and knowledgeable about, you know, what a border region can offer. But I did kind of want to highlight it in the consultation because it shows what a committed resource there is in border territories in terms of engaged people who want to stay there. They want not only to stay there, they want more people to come and attract businesses, attract people to come and live and stay in these areas. And that it's not this sort of like all these border regions aren't sitting there waiting for aid or help. There's so much happening there and so much that's sort of dynamic and engaging and invested in border regions. That's not to say these territories aren't facing their challenges. And if I had to sort of distill it down to sort of one point, is that if you look across all border areas, they tend to be in a position where they're caught at the forefront of some challenges, issues, opportunities, but also catching up on a whole range of others. I mean, just simple things like broadband rollout. You've got some areas which still aren't well connected, but you've got other areas that are pioneering in terms of providing remote services because they are far from peripheries and things like that. So they're in a complex sort of catching up and leading position. And that is, it is hard to sort of occupy both positions, and it means that issues are quite often grey, fiddly, technical, and through cooperation and collaboration, you can work together to find sort of ways through those issues, and particularly going forward, again, trying to be succinct rather than give the usual big long list of lots of challenges. The capacity to collaborate and sort of adapt to change. I mean, a key characteristic of the current programming period has been there are still the very long-standing challenges. There's also this sort of big transitions, green, digital, demographic change. But then on top of that, there's been this wave of COVID, political challenges, and very sort of tense, complex border relationships and linkages. And again, Interreg programs, when you look across them, have shown a lot of capacity to very quickly adapt and respond to those changes, particularly linked to COVID, where remote working was very quickly sort of adopted and has become a key part, I imagine, of the projects that you're working on. And looking forward, you can see that change is in some ways going to be a constant, which again, comes back to that, as Murray was saying, that we need more cooperation rather than less. So, thanks.
Thank you very much. Now that we understand the problems a bit better, I would like to move into Interreg, because we're all Interreggers. Something that becomes, or something that's probably usually thought of as common knowledge, is that Interreg offers many, many solutions, but the impact might be limited. And one of the reasons people say that the impact of Interreg is limited is that very often you have a very good, we heard that you have long-standing challenges. They're different but still similar in the various border regions. And we find in 22 cross-border programs and 6 transnational programs very fitting solutions, along with what the Commission expects, very specific, different from each other maybe, but one of the problems is these solutions do not travel. They stay in the region, they stay in one place, they are not taken up, so that limits their impact. So what they do in the Czech, Polish, German triangle doesn't travel further south to Poland, Slovakia, for example. So this is one of the issues, and what I would like to discuss is ways how we can further improve this, but maybe talking about this, also it would be interesting to see and hear from you on the panel whether there's already solutions that are working. So what if we could change that situation? What if we make Interreg solutions travel, if we better capitalize on them? So with this round, I would like to bring in Mr. Wemer. You are, as I said, the regional coordinator of Interreg Czech Austria for Upper Austria, and also the representative of regions in our program, or the Austrian regions. So what measures have you taken, or has the Interreg Czech Austria program primarily taken in the past years to overcome the fragmentation of cross-border solutions? And do you maybe have an interesting success story where results were adopted and reused from another area?
Yeah, thank you very much for the invitation. And I would like to give you some insights into the regional perspective on this topic. So I thought about the most important elements that we face in overcoming this fragmentation that you mentioned. And actually, I'm very glad that you had the Slido, because my #1 bullet point actually matches the result of the Slido, which is networks, networking. Functional networks are the key to success. And without the network, you can't connect, you can't learn, and you can't overcome this fragmentation. And on a regional level, we found that the Euro regions play a very major part in this aspect to overcome these barriers, because they form networks, they foster networks, and with networks, it's easier to come together. Another aspect, and we in the CBC world are very close to our stakeholders, to our beneficiaries. We try to nudge our stakeholders to look beyond their own project, to look beyond their own partnership. And this is already done in the application phase, where we encourage them to actually think about other projects which already exist, other results, other outputs which they can use and integrate into their own project. And another part, the third one, is the role of experienced beneficiaries. And this has to be pointed out, because experienced beneficiaries possess a very large network, and they can also build on their own results and outcomes, which comes very handy. And in our program, an example would be the National Park Thyatal, which is located in the very north of Austria, and along the border with the Czech Republic. So they have a lot of projects in the CBC program, Austria-Czech Republic. But they're also very active in transnational programs and life programs, and also Horizon. So they not only have the knowledge base, which is useful, but also the network. And organizations like these, they function sort of the pivot to transfer results and outputs. And they are the drivers of cooperation and also the drivers of capitalization. Another aspect, and this is the last aspect that from our point of view is very important in overcoming this fragmentation, is the shared challenges. Now, what Mr. Gillen mentioned before, the example of Bale Hatoch and Bale Nassau is very challenging, but we in Austria, in Upper Austria, also face challenges. And the question of synergies is particularly important in the context of border obstacles. And learning from each other and maybe unlearning some things is essential in terms of overcoming administrative, legal, and also barriers in people's minds and people's hearts. And to give you an example, in Upper Austria, we are currently learning from an approach between the state of Baden-Württemberg and Switzerland to harmonize the emergency services radios between Upper Austria and Bavaria. And this sounds rather easy, you just have to connect it, but in fact it isn't. Germany is a NATO member country, Austria isn't, so there are different standards, different security rules, etc. But this can have very profound effects, that border between life and death, if the medical emergency service can't communicate with the counterpart on the other side. So in the CBC world, we are actually doing our homework. We're trying to work on overcoming the fragmentation that we encounter. But I also have to point out that it does not make sense to transfer all results and all outputs. It always depends on the project and its context. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this. I think that last sentence is also very important for the Commission to hear. It makes sense that we have these different programs. You cannot just transfer everything that they do and take it one by one or further work on that. I think this is totally behind what these different programs are. They are answering to specific challenges, and not everything can be transferred, taken up, and capitalized upon. But as we hear, certain things can, certain solutions, it makes sense to further learn from these. So, Mr. Meyer, in your area, in your region, do you have any good practices where such networks exist, where Interreg programs are learning from others, taking up ideas, solutions that were developed maybe in other programs, Interreg programs, and also beyond, that that then give you a head start for finding a solution? And maybe also, if there are not that many, why is that so?
To be honest, I don't know many cases where Interreg projects were transferred from one region to the other region. And Mr. Gillen already said that Interreg projects have to work in such a specific region, and that's good for this way. I was thinking that my region is challenging, but this example from you, Mr. Gillen, was challenging more. And I think it's quite normal that every region has a specific cultural and historical context, a legal and administrative framework, and therefore it's not possible to transfer it one to one. But we can get better in sharing the knowledge, because as we have seen yesterday evening in the Karaoke, we have a lot of models and pilot projects and many knowledge stuck in the databases or some websites, and we have to get them out that everyone has the access. Maybe the access is there, but it's not quite that good that the transfer is working good. And we have also to overwind the language barriers. They are a challenge in all over Europe, but we can manage them. And for example, in my region, we know the language barrier as a barrier to Czech and to Poland. It's maybe more difficult than only one language barrier. And we learned a lot about the language in the French-German border region. And now we have some Interreg projects from learning in the beginning at the kindergarten, early language learning, and that's good that there is a knowledge in some other border regions, and the French-German partnership is still still a lot of years longer than the partnership to the Polish and the Czech, because there was a historical break, and now we can take this knowledge in French and Germany and transfer it, and we are doing good in this. Therefore, it's a structural process when you start at the early ones to go further to the schools and to lifelong learning in this context of language, because I think language is a very important barrier which we have to overwind and to bring the people together. If they know some words in the neighborhood language, they can come together and they do some projects, and the cohesion is working there, and therefore the French border is a very good example for our region.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. Being a German in Vienna, in Austria, I can only confirm, because there's also this saying, there's nothing more divisive between Germans and Austrians than the common language. And it rings true very often. So, Ms. Gintav-Giewaltowska, do you have any examples of national or regional initiatives maybe where good results or promising results from one cross-border area were transferred maybe to another one? Because also Poland is in many cross-border programs, so I guess it'd be a natural thing maybe to transfer certain results to the neighboring cross-border area, or is there also, are there limits to it?
I would like to share with you two examples, maybe not directly from one border to another, because it is rarely, can be rarely met, but transfer from Interreg to regional level. And one of the examples is addressed to social issues. One of our region decided with the other counterparts to focus on home care. They exchange experiences in this field, practice some pilot exercises, and then reflect the outcomes in the regional strategies addressed to these social issues. But it was not the end of the story. The region, based on this knowledge gained from this transfer of information, of good and bad practices, decided to build a new project, a program at the regional level called TeleAngel. This project is aimed at 10,000 dependent residents who need constant support in this daily life business, in this household chores activities, due to the age, the illnesses, disabilities. So this program is addressed to the dependent people. And all of them received, one of the activity was to deliver this people kind of a device, a wristband, to monitor their activities, to detect any possible faults. Also GPS is built in this device. And heart monitor and many other functions. And the goal is to keep this person as long as it is possible at home, yes, in their natural surroundings, not forcing them to go to the hospital or any nursing homes. So it is the project still in practice, and I hope it will be also prolonged, partially co-financed by the EU funds. And the second and very up-to-date project or activity is about our external border with Russia and Belarus. And one of our region, together with other 18 territories facing the same problem and being along the Russian and Belarusian border. These are the Baltic Sea states, but also but also Finland. They all together discussed how to face common problems, how to mitigate them, especially in the security, energy and economy. And also with the help of experts, and it is all about the policy learning platform from Interreg Europe program. So thanks to this tool, the kind of a peer review could take place, and representatives of different territories, bordering these aggressive countries, together with experts, they were able to produce recommendations, very tailor-made, very detailed, referring to the future. So what all what should be done in the future to mitigate this negative influence stemming from the closed borders. And due to this very specific suggestions, each country, each region is able to adapt its strategy, but also tools to the new circumstances. And it is not only about EU money, but also in the national and regional level. So it is, I can recommend using this platform to all of you if you don't know yet about this policy learning platform from Interreg Europe. A good advice and very up-to-date, huge support from experts in certain fields, and it is not complicated, as I've heard.
Thank you very much. I think you made at least one person very happy in the audience, because we have, I think, Nicolas somewhere in the audience. There he is from Interreg Europe. So if you have any questions on these platforms, Nicolas is the go-to person in the coffee break. Maybe you can just stand up and show. Yeah, so remember his face. He's the odd one out from Interreg Europe. He's neither transnational nor cross-border. He's interregional. So nice to have you here. And let's see how often you will be approached in view of these platforms. Mr. Gillen, we now heard, like, okay, the challenges are very often shared. Very similar and different, nevertheless, whether you're Schengen, quasi-Schengen, that was a new term I had to learn. A non-Schengen, never Schengen. I think that was interesting, I found. And at the same time, these tailor-made solutions should be capitalized on. It sounds like a very difficult task, I find. So, and how far does the Commission offer some, or where do you see the potentials there for this? Or do you have any good examples also where this is already happening in order to make it more concrete, because it sounds like such a difficult challenge?
Yes, good question. I think I would emphasize three approaches. And the first actually doesn't involve directly any specific tools. The first is about the challenge of always pushing Interreg programs to go further, to go beyond what they have always traditionally looked at, to test, ironically, boundaries in how programs function. And there's one particular example that I often use. It's from a few years ago now, but relatively early on in the peace programme between Ireland and Northern Ireland, one of the things that the programme decided to do was to try and bring together agencies and organisations from both sides of the border that had traditionally not really worked together. And it was about, let's put people in a room and just talk at each other about how they operate and what they operate on, and let's see what comes out of that. And one little example that came out of that was when the health authorities on both sides of the border sat down and talked to each other. And explaining how they operated, how they functioned. And one of the things at one point that was mentioned in the discussion was, well, of course, we have a network of general practitioners, doctors that people can visit in the towns, in the border regions. And we obviously, because there can be emergencies, etc., we have doctors that are on call, available at nights and over weekends. And the health authority on the other side of the border said, oh, we do that as well. And from that, they mapped out what was being provided, and in some towns you had doctors 2 or 3 streets away, providing exactly the same service. So what they did was they put together a small project. I think it cost about 60,000 euros of coordinating on-call doctors on one side of the border or another, basically cutting costs in half, because you needed half the number of doctors. It did take them 2 or 3 years to put it together, because you had all these questions about health insurance, what happens if a doctor has to go across the border and then has an accident. So there was a lot of the legal aspects to sort out, but it was generated from the program being willing to go beyond what had traditionally been focused on. And that's something that we do try and encourage programs always to look at. And what we're talking about today is a little bit an example of that from Central Europe. More concretely on specific tools, we have what we call the B Solutions Initiative, which is where perhaps project partners have come together to try and resolve an issue and have said, even with the best will in the world, we can't get there ourselves. Where can we get help? And the B Solutions Initiative is something where the Commission can provide support for legal experts to come in, to analyse the situation, to provide advice and input over and above what might traditionally exist. And the third example I wanted to pick up is the New Bridge for EU initiative, which after a decade or so of challenging discussions amongst the member states, shall we say, we have reached the stage where there will be a new possibility for where project partners, again, on a border have said, look, we've tried to address this. We've even had border solutions people come in and we've really not been able to resolve it. We want to put a formal request to our national level. This is a real issue on our border. We need you to help us solve it. So you have this kind of range of elements that are being created. And you can also use combinations of this. One of the examples that my colleagues identified for me is the Lower Austrian Health Agency, facilitating cross-border healthcare with Czechia, Slovakia, and Hungary. And the way they've done that is that they've put together projects providing access to healthcare through Interreg, through the cross-border mechanism. But they've also used B Solutions to address the reimbursement mechanism. So again, a little bit similar to the Northern Ireland example where some of the legal questions needed that additional push. And they've even, which is a very interesting point, they've looked to one of our sister DGs, DG Reform, which has a technical support instrument, and they've made use of that for some of the startup services in primary healthcare. So I think it's a very interesting example of a creative partnership looking at multiple strands to stitch together a significant, comprehensive package. I think on the point about sharing outcomes and ideas, it's maybe useful to underline a careful use of language in that respect. I don't think in a lot of cases we are necessarily talking in Interreg programs about transferring projects from one border to another because of the unique nature of every single border we were talking about. But on capitalizing on ideas and solutions that have been used elsewhere to trigger a different line of thought, to trigger a different type of approach, absolutely. And I think that's the key point that we've been trying to do. And some of those might not work. You know, you might identify an outcome, an idea, you might look at it and go, that's not going to fly here. But you're not going to know that unless you've heard about it. So that's a little bit the sharing of ideas, the sharing of possibilities, helping to expand the potential for all borders.
Thank you, Mr. Gideon. I think we're coming back to what Mr. Hansel said in his keynote speech. So sharing ideas helps you to unlearn what you've done so far and have to go for new ways and find fitting solutions that you haven't thought of before, right? I mean, so coming back to that input. Now, I think we heard that everywhere there are good examples, good practices. Now, from a more systematic point of view, and looking at the research person here on the panel, what could be done to make it more systematic? You know, because this is now happening by accident, by chance. Sometimes it seems on the initiative of an individual person, maybe. But are there ways to trigger that?
Well, more money would be.
Well, that resonates definitely. Listening to the PowerPoint karaoke.
No, but more seriously, it is an issue because it does take capacity and not necessarily always financial resource, but an investment in time, and the networking and the traveling and the attending events like this is an investment, and you don't necessarily come away with certain measures that you can report back on, but maybe 3 years down the line there was the person that you spoke to over coffee that then snowballs and links to some new project or extending your own work, and that does take time. And also particularly in an area like Central Europe, there are so many other even just Interreg programs, and then on top of that you have the national cohesion policy programs where you tend to have the money for really sort of jumping up a project, sort of getting it applied in practice. And to be in the room around the table within the conversation and part of the dialogue when you have the opportunity to get on a sort of new initiative or help inform new thinking on something that is difficult, and it takes timing, and it does take individual sort of champions who are prepared to sort of push the envelope and take Lucas and Christians here from the North Sea programme to sort of be there and be around and help facilitate those networks as well. And particularly that sort of engagement with national levels can be quite challenging, and there's always been a huge pressure on Interreg projects and programs to communicate, disseminate, share ideas. And if my LinkedIn and Facebook and former Twitter, I came off X, but account was anything to go by, there is a huge amount of communication knowledge sharing, and to the point it's kind of actually quite overwhelming, which again comes back to that point about you need capacity to filter all of this and resources and events like this to sort of pull out key themes. But it's also is going to take some initiative at the kind of national levels to sort of clear their ear out and listen, because sometimes you feel that you're repeating the same thing about cooperation's important. It's really important. It's really important, and then that message can get lost in the sort of really big strategic conversations, particularly that are coming up now. And that varies from countries to country, because there's some places, like Poland, where you mentioned border and that's a big issue. But coming from the UK, we always slightly suffered from an island mentality a bit, with the exception, as Murray was saying, of the sort of land border with between Ireland and Northern Ireland. So it's a big process, this, and to sort of really systematize it can be challenging. But in terms of very practical things, I think it's still really important to help projects, but also programs recognize synergies and capitalisation when they happen, because we've done a few program evaluations where we've gone back and talked to program partners from a previous programming period and asked them, so what happened next? And there are so many good things that have happened next after a project's finished, after a program has closed and you're on to the next programming period. Really useful links and connections have been sort of carried on and continued. So finding some way, maybe through evaluations, to find those stories is important. But also just talking to project partners, they anecdotally mentioned these really impressive things that were never mentioned in the project report, where they're kind of like, yeah, no, and then we went to this conference and it was on tourism, and yeah, we spoke to the National Tourist Authority, and now they've based their entire strategy around our work, and you kind of, again, it was after the project finished, it didn't get picked up. So sort of sometimes expanding the sort of time horizons you're looking across can be good. And also just helping, as I say, project partners to really see a synergy or see something developing. And it doesn't always have to be informing some mega giant strategy. It can also be a synergy down the way where you've had a very sort of regional level of collaboration, but then a community has taken that idea, run with it, and really benefited from it. So it's coming at synergies from different angles, which again is a very social scientist response. And
Thank you very much for this, McMaster. I would like to pick up on two things. First of all, you said time horizon. Unfortunately, time is passing quickly, so I'm afraid I will have to jump a little bit further in the last round of questions. And then I have a very nice solution, and allow everyone to take this solution up for the problem that when you say cooperation is important, people get a little bit bored. I think cooperation is central, is really nice, and feel free to take it up anytime to say it to anyone out there. Forget about cooperation is important, cooperation is central. So, because we are interested very much in also the questions from the audience, I have like maybe a question to you, Mr. Myers, because one way of ensuring impact, this we know when I talk to the people in our secretariat that are dealing with projects, they say it's very important to get the policymakers on board in a project. This is super crucial. And we have you here now. So what makes people like you in your role and your function participate or pay attention to Interreg projects? So what are your tips maybe to the people here if they want to involve people like you in Interreg projects so that the impact that they are taken up on the policy level?
I have been a member of parliament for 13 years, and now I'm a regional decision maker, and I think that we have first-hand the information what is necessary in a region, and therefore I can advise that it's good to involve decision makers, policy makers at the beginning of projects, not only for the final event where the presentation is presented. It's necessary to make them part of the journey, and this is on my perspective necessary because it's important to have a regional strategy. It's not good to have projects. They have to be part of one strategy, and the solutions have to be found in the region. And therefore I can also say that it's necessary for the next founding period that the specific needs in the regions have to be part of this financial frameworks. We have to have flexible rules. We have the small founding projects which are necessary to get bigger ones, and policy makers can help to get access to co-founding and to build the networks, because we have the connections to small and medium-sized companies, to the civil society, and we are the connectors, and therefore I can advise that it's necessary to get them involved in the whole process.
Thank you very much for this input. I could talk on for hours with you about this topic, but I think it would be very interesting to hear your questions and feedback. Again, I'm coming back to Slido, so please take out your phones, submit a few questions. I'm sure we probably have a stock of questions already on Slido. We can have it, yes, we do. 9 so far, I see. So feel free to add some more questions. And I will take a few from Slido, and then I will ask you also here in the room, for the brave ones, to also bring in your questions live here in the room. So, question to Mr. Gilland. As we approach the post-2027 period, how can we ensure that Interreg remains central, I like that, with the reframing of cohesion policy?
Well, this was one of the rationales behind the whole consultation exercise that we talked about earlier. This was about a way to galvanize the Interreg community, to talk in a coordinated, systematic manner about what Interreg means, what it can deliver, and why it's important. And I think very much that we've succeeded in maintaining and publicizing that profile over the last 18 months. And with the report that we have a document which kind of summarizes and synthesizes the messages that the Interreg community wants to pass. Second aspect that I wanted as part of this answer is, picking up some of the elements we've already talked about, is going beyond the traditional, identifying new areas, new possibilities, and new opportunities. And one important element to underline for Interreg at this point in time is that we have never been as advanced in implementation at this stage of a programming period. Very often, historically, Interreg is seen as running to catch up. Interreg programs tended to be approved after national and regional programs. They were a lower priority for some national ministries, therefore they were approved late. Trying to get the attention of the audit authority was more difficult because they were focusing on the larger programs. And then you had Interreg calls happening late in the period, people trying to use up the funding. At this stage in the process, over half the entire Interreg budget is already committed to projects. If you look at the transnational and the external border programs that my unit handles, our programs are at 70% committed to projects. And there are programs present in this audience that have basically no money left for this programming period, which is a good thing, honestly. What does that create? It creates time and space to think and plan and look beyond what we normally do. We see Interreg programs where the levels of trust and development have built up over time, that calls are launched in some cases before programs were even approved at the beginning of the period, and programs are moving at a time and speed which is more natural in a multi-annual context. And we create space at exactly this point in the programming period to do more, to succeed more, and to use those results that come out of that to pass the political messages to whoever's taking the decisions on the next multi-annual financial framework. Hint, it's not me.
Thank you very much for this. I see there's a question also for Mr. Wimmer on the functioning networks that you talked about, and people feel a little bit overwhelmed here, it seems, because they have limited capacities. So they're wondering what are the success factors for such functioning networks. A question that is taken up by 6 other people, so there's interest in this. Mr. Wimmer.
Yeah, thank you for this question, and I think you're already doing the first very important step, which is being here and participating in this networking event. So this is an important aspect in times of digital and online meetings, to actually be present on site and meet the people. And most often it's the really important meetings are not official but rather informal. And yeah, how can you forge these networks if you have a limited capacity, if you're a small organization, a small association maybe? And I think it's important to highlight that you should connect with more experienced partners and partners who already possess a bigger network, because through that you can sort of sneak into that network and amplify your own connections. So this would be my go-to advice for enhancing your network. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Maybe before we take another question from Slido, is there a brave person in the audience who would like to ask a question? We have a few microphones that will reach you in 5 seconds. So any hands up maybe? Any questions here in the room? You can also ask your Slido question if that is already there, so feel free. Maybe the person for the first one, is that person here in the room or is this an online question? Oh, it's over there, so maybe we can bring a microphone to you and then we get a bit more of a background also on this question. Do we have a microphone there? Ah, yeah, thank you. Maybe 10 seconds, sorry.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Jan Gimkiewicz from the German Environment Agency. I'm from the NICE project. And yeah, I know it's maybe a little bit of a provocative question, but I was wondering, like in Görlitz or the Dutch example, it is like working on the symptoms, not on the core problems with the cross-border projects, kind of. So I was wondering what could be a real solution to overcome these challenges also for administration. I was thinking of like, can there be like a buffer zone between countries with more flexibility for administration, something like that? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Meyer, you want to answer?
I think borders are not necessary, but they are reality, and I don't like this, but it's in times where extreme policy makers getting majorities, it's a fact, and therefore we have to do that, what you said, we have to address the daily issues of the people in the regions. For example, in Görlitz and Skorzelec, they built a common heat and electricity power plant, and if you have such an infrastructure together, or a healthcare, and you use it on both sides of the border, the barrier is seeking, and we need more concrete projects and concrete daily business solutions for the people, that they know that the barriers, that the borders are not existing anymore. We achieved a lot, I will say. We achieved a lot in a few decades, but there is still a long way to go, and therefore it's very nice to be here and to see so many European people who are working on this process, and we can achieve this, that we are seeking the barriers in a few steps more.
Thank you very much for this. I can very much subscribe to what you said, and I think also what Ms. Givartowska said. There's different levels of borders. Some you feel, some you don't. Schengen you hardly feel. I mean, I'm old enough to know the Dutch-German border where there still was like pre-Schengen. Then Schengen came, there was nothing, and now there's quasi-Schengen, as I learned. Again, I like it. I have to come back to that, and you feel it again. So I think that's indeed the reality will be there. I don't know if you would like to add something on that, or we can also, yeah. Oh yeah, maybe Ms. Gintovska and then Mr. Gilland.
Yeah, maybe it's not straight to your question, but it is my pledge towards the Commission and talking about mitigating what the border brings. Each border, it is not about the border among member states, but also internal. We've got in Poland many borders among regions, among communities. So border as such is always problematic. Yes, it's a challenge. It brings negative effects usually. But how can we mitigate, particularly in this CBC context, because I am much more a CBC woman than transnational, but it's about the future. Maybe we should put in the next regulation a possibility for partners, for beneficiaries to build or to create integrated projects. So if I've got the river as such, I do not have to focus only on tourism or only on education or only on environmental issues, but I am allowed to just to adjust to very narrow, very specific priorities that I've got in the program and then transfer it into the project, but let beneficiaries to build more complex projects, more coherent, connecting different aspects of this particular river. And I know that the answer can be that we've got territorial instruments, but Denisa know very well how challenging it is to put it into practice. So just let the beneficiaries in the future to cooperate, not focus or limit their imagination to a certain sphere, thematic, and just get rid of thematic concentration at the program's level. This is my
Thank you.
pledge
That's a
towards
very
the
clear message to the Commission. But Mr. Gilland, you wanted to reply also.
No, I just wanted to come in on the point that was asked. It was quite an interesting question. Many years ago, I remember attending a debate at the European Parliament on the importance of Interreg in the Regional Development Committee. And the committee voted 37 votes to 1 about how positive and successful Interreg was. And the one vote against, at the time, you will be unsurprised to hear, was from someone from Nigel Farage's party. Not Nigel Farage, because of course he never turned up at the Parliament. But, and after the meeting, I was leaving the room and I was behind this person who had voted no, this MEP. And he was proclaiming to anybody who would listen that he'd voted no because Interreg was a Commission plot to eliminate borders. And I often think about it because I think, you know, how what a classic example of being 100% wrong. The whole rationale that we have for Interreg is because borders exist. Because people and regions, border regions, need that extra assistance to deal with the challenges that they live with, because we operate in a European Union and because we have different rules, different administrations, different legal procedures, different languages that need that extra boost and impulsion to overcome those kind of challenges. And that's why it's important as well in relation to the question. That's why we still need support on the Belgian-Dutch border. That's why there is still a need for support on the German-Dutch border. Because there are still challenges that exist there. Now, some of those challenges may be newer because we're trying to get people to think about new ideas. Give you one more example from my favorite Barle-Hertog-Barle-Nassau case. For the disposal of a particular type of dangerous waste, it is illegal in the Netherlands to dispose of this waste at regional waste disposal sites. Too dangerous. You're not allowed to dispose on the regional. In Belgium, it is obligatory to dispose of the same waste at waste disposal sites. And again, they have solved this one, again with Interreg support. What did they do? They built the waste disposal site on the border. So the left-hand side is the Netherlands and the right-hand side is Belgium. But there are still dozens of other examples which they haven't solved yet, even with that level of integration. And that exists on all our borders. And that's why Interreg is still there, and that's why Interreg is still so valuable.
Thank you very much. Are there any more questions in the audience? Yes, over here. Can we bring a microphone? Thank you.
Thank you so much. My name is Dawid Lasek. I'm from Poland. I represent the Carpathian Euroregion and the Central Mountains Project in this call. And I would like to ask Mr. Guillon, if you may say, is there any chance to design, establish, and launch a special operational program, transnational, for the Carpathians? Because we are, as a macro-region, without a macro-regional strategy, we know any international instruments. So do you see any chance to do that in the next financial period? I know you know these questions, but I represent the people from the Carpathians.
Maybe
and I have to ask.
Maybe I can give Mr. Gilland a few moments to think, ponder on this, because maybe we should put this into perspective, because yesterday in the PowerPoint Karaoke evening reception, we found out that nearly no one has visited the Carpathians, unfortunately, so far. But maybe this will change then when there's a strategy. So it was really interesting also in that presentation. So I gave you a minute to ponder the answer now, referring back to yesterday evening.
It's not the first time I've been asked it has to be said. I think there's two specific answers. On the question of a program in an Interreg context, honestly, I see that very difficult. The territory of the Union and its neighbours is already covered significantly by transnational programs that already exist. Creating layers of programs, I think, would run into significant resistance inside the Commission, and indeed could also run into resistance across the member states, because where do you stop in that situation? In relation to the underlying element on the macro-regional idea, we know this is something that Poland attaches a great deal of importance to. It is somewhat less shared, perhaps, by some of the neighbouring countries. And the straightforward answer on any macro region is that that's the responsibility of the European Council. So it needs a unanimous decision from the European Council to create a macro region. That's where the 4 existing ones have come from. And that requires an enormous amount of political will, lobbying, process to get even close to that idea. And to be honest, that's one of the reasons why there hasn't been a new one since 2015.
Thank you very much for this. Maybe we can take a last question. I keep in mind the feedback from the morning that you want to do some networking, and it's time for coffee and cake also. So, but feel free, there's a last chance for you to ask a question. Okay, I think I put you off. Everyone wants coffee now. So maybe, let me, there is, sorry, I didn't see that. Sorry, here we go.
Because I'm shy. Okay, Agnieszka Wodarczyk-Gębik from Kraków Technology Park, representing Smart Circuit Project. And my thought was, we are good at building on similarities and respect differences. What if taking cooperation as central? We start with understanding and building on differences to manage the sustainable development of Europe. And the questions and the thought for that is that we try to unify our countries, and that is great. With projects that we have been running and are running right now, we have got a great experience cooperating with partners from different countries. And right now, Taking the Polish example, we have been having a hard time in policy, and it was said about the trust we have in our regional authorities, and regional authorities got in us. So my question is, how to involve the public administration better to make them involved in the projects we are currently running? Do you have any kind of advice? I'm addressing the questions to also representative of our ministry, because on different levels at local and regional policy, administration levels, we get a lot of support, and also the national administration is being involved in the projects. So how to support you better, for example, in co-designing the policies that respond the needs of small and medium enterprises?
So, question to you, Ms.
Very hard, I know, sorry.
Maybe we can give a short answer now, and then you find together in the coffee break to go a bit deeper or so. But yes, maybe a short answer, if that's possible. I don't know.
Indeed, it's a hard question. But I'm not working for the Commission, but from the Commission side, for example, I will recommend to use these territorial instruments, because these territorial instruments just encourage you or even force you to build or programming or preparing the new program. You have to just coordinate and even write the program from the top to the bottom. Yes, detailed or enumerate all projects that you've got and you would like to put into practice. I'm not a fan of this territorial instruments, that it seems to be too complicated in the shape of what it is now, but it is this integrated approach, not only according to towards the project, but also integrating all levels involved. So starting from the ministry, in our case, we are the managing authority for some programs, and ending to the even final recipients. But it is a totally different mentality while preparing the project. It is always a question if it should be top-down or bottom-up approach, but still I think that it is your question very relevant towards the future, and if such still an approach or the Commission, the regulation encourage us to invest in territorial instrument, I think that it is one of the solution to feel you much more or your needs that are high on the agenda, and we addressed very specifically the program to your needs, to your expectations. So it is the first idea that came to my mind, referring to the future.
And maybe more ideas can be discussed then in the coffee break. So thank you very much to the speakers. Big round of applause. Thank you very much for your energy today. And I'm just, between the coffee break and you, just a few words from my end. Many of the challenges we discussed today for border regions are actually what our capitalization call is designed for. So after the coffee break, we will dive deeper into that call. And don't forget, we will also revisit the PowerPoint Karaoke highlights from yesterday and hand out what I call the very serious awards for the best performers. Here you see that we will continue in like 11 minutes from now. Just disregard this. I suggest we meet back here at 11:45. Enjoy the coffee break and the networking. Thank you very much so far. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
This was... I guess we will have a hard time to bring everyone back from the sunny coffee break out there. But the room is filling up slowly and time is a little tight. We still have a full afternoon ahead of us and more networking time at the lunch break. So I would like to welcome you back. I hope you enjoyed your coffee break. You used it for some networking to meet people you have known before and maybe also new people, so that you can build on this when we start discussing our capitalization call. Before we preview our upcoming strategic call for capitalization, let's have some fun and look back at yesterday's PowerPoint karaoke. In that evening reception, brave volunteers, 9 of them, took to the stage to present project slides they had never seen before. Some of you might have wondered whether this is true, because there were very nice storylines. As I said, like we were introduced, amongst others, to Maurice, but you will hear more about this, I'm sure, in a second. So let's now relive some of the highlights from yesterday's PowerPoint karaoke with our fabulous rapporteur, Francesca. Francesca, please, the floor is yours.
Okay, great. This is my voice. Hello, welcome back to this afternoon. It's great to see some of you people again, also some new faces, all those people who have missed yesterday's PowerPoint karaoke. I have to say I'm sorry for you. It was quite a great evening. Those of you who don't know me, my name is Francesca. I'm organizing PowerPoint karaoke, mostly in Vienna, but also in like Salzburg. That's because we named from .eu, so it's also international what we are doing. And yeah, PowerPoint karaoke, Frank already said it. I made slides from your project, from the Interreg project, and we had 9 participants to present those slides, so they didn't know what topic they get, they haven't seen the slides before, and then they had 6 minutes to present it in a way like it's their own project, to give like some new storylines, because what we thought, today you're supposed to come up with some new strategics, maybe develop your project even further, or to come up with some new ideas. And PowerPoint karaoke is using something that's called uncreative writing. So uncreative writing is a technique where you take a text that already exists and you put it in some new order and make some new ideas out of it. And that's basically what we did with the PowerPoint karaoke. So maybe we can have a look. Yes. So this could have been you if you have been there yesterday, or maybe this is you. Let's take another look. So we've been at the Urani. Oh, great! I see you've learned the transitions being possible. So that's my my part of it. Yeah. Also, we have our diverse audience with bold people. No, I'm sorry for that. All of those really beautiful, really great audience. You've been there yesterday. I'm 27 years old, I'm supposed to say that. Otherwise, I will lose my status as Gen Z. Okay, maybe let's have a look at last. Yeah, what you see there, it not only is the color green, but what we've learned yesterday, being presented with the green packed presentation, is some quite interesting strategy on how we can unify and how we can get a community across the borders. So just like with painting everything green, and then everything will be kind of the same, but also we can bring people together in a more fun and spontaneous way. Also, we've learned something quite interesting, that no matter what problems you want to solve during your process, during your way, just use a lot of Shutterstock images, so you'll get the right idea of what you're gonna tell the people. And yeah, in the end, all that really matters, we've learned about that, is just we wanna wash your hands, we wanna have clean water. And in fact, the central Mountains project is a really high project. So not geographically, but also spiritually, really high project you've developed there. So maybe you can ask Mattia if he has any more quite interesting ideas for those projects. And yes, I think one of the greatest things I did learn yesterday is that you can build a really big water slide and cross like 6 countries with a kit called Maurice and solving all the problems with cooperation. Yes, okay, and here you're gonna have our winners or our participants from yesterday, so maybe we can have like a big round of applause for all of them, because it is quite brave to stand up on stage and representing things you don't know of, and giving all those projects and all their ideas maybe their own little spin, and maybe you can gain something from it. So yeah, also if you haven't done that, talk to the people who presented yesterday. Maybe you came up with your own ideas, and maybe what I wanted to do is just take those ideas, take those parts of creativity and incorporate in the sessions later, and maybe you can find some new quite interesting thing, because I know it can be challenging, it can be hard coming up with new ideas, new strategies, but just yeah, use today's conference, just please work together. And here, as I'm gonna tell you who is that in a bit second, but you've seen here, it's something I wanted to do all the time. I'm hosting PowerPoint Karaoke, so we're gonna have our PowerPoint ceremony today. We also have 3 winners from yesterday's sessions, because not only did they present projects they haven't no idea of it, we also let the audience vote on that. So just have like some fun challenge with this, and have people that are too afraid to present on stage saying, yeah, your performance was 7 points, it was quite fun. That's what we are doing in Vienna. And for the ceremony, I would like to invite on stage, and with you having a big round of applause for Christiane Bresnik, Head of Interreg Central Europe Managing Authority, and Luca Ferrarese, Head of Interreg Central Europe Joint Secretariat. So I think you will be handling the awards, right? Great, so I just have to take out my other notes. I'm sorry, I did meant to print them out. I also borrowed some paper from the office, then my printer got out of ink. So yes, but for the 3rd place, I already said that it was in fact the first one presenting on stage yesterday, so it is a really brave spot, since normally it's decided by luck whether people are starting or not, but in fact the team did decide that, because they know that person, and yeah, he took the highest project there is in all of Interreg, and he got himself really high up the ranking. So please clap your hands for the 3rd place yesterday for Mattia. Please come up on stage again and have your plaque. Yes.
Thank you very much.
So I don't know if you have like a trophy room at your home, or maybe you have to build it. Yes.
In the middle. Like this. Thank you, everyone. It was a great pleasure performing yesterday. It was my first time, and I'm really happy that I also worked for these guys, and they taught me everything, all the Interreg things. And it was a pleasure being first as well, to break the ice. I was a bit nervous, but then after first slide, it went well, I think. So thank you very much for the 3rd.
Thank you very much, Mattia. So, all right. So then on second place, we had the person already took that. So he presented us with the ideas, not only with aliens maybe taking over Europe, but also with using the color green, not to even get a greener climate and to have the real green changes in your lives. So to have all of the people covered in green, and maybe now we have time to really focus on what brings us together. Please have a round of applause for the second place yesterday for Gregor.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I hope you will be all safe from the aliens. And if you want to see some more serious parts of the cooperation, I'm at 2.2. Was the project that was presented by the winner, but I will not. I will keep it.
Okay, maybe you can co-host then. I think there will be some nice ideas. Thank you. All right, and the project presented by the winner, I already told you that it's not only the story of a little boy sliding through Europe, so it's also a story of what brings us together, of what brings us joy, maybe working with those Interreg project. It was the project of Maurice, and the first place yesterday. Please welcome on stage Ricardo.
I did it. No, okay. Thank you all. By the way, I was presenting the project of the guy at the second place, and he was presenting the project on the first place. So what a coincidence. So okay, thank you all. Thank you for the organizer. Especially thanks for those who voted for me, and especially I really like to thanks really a lot Maurice.
Thank you again. So this was the PowerPoint karaoke. You will be working on capitalization today. Capitalization starts with ideas. It starts with connecting people. So take those kind of opportunities. And what I would like you, I already said that, maybe don't take the work too seriously all of the time. So just try to keep up with the fun and have a good time, coming up with new creative ideas in working together. And now I think I'm gonna get back to you.
Thank you very much, Francesca. Amazing tip for the afternoon. Have fun when you discuss the outputs and results and the solutions that you want to further work on. Be creative. Having a laugh helps with creativity, so thank you very much for hosting this super fun part of our conference. Maybe you can give a big round of applause to our host yesterday evening and also today. Thank you very much, Francesca. So, maybe before we now move deeper into the core preview, I see a lot of people standing over there. We have a few free seats here in the front, so don't be shy, just come to the front while I'm talking and take a seat, because the next part might take a little longer or so, because we are now moving into the part of the conference that many of you, most of you probably have been waiting for, our strategic call preview. For this, I'm further joined by Christiane Bresnik and Luca Ferrarese. However, before we dive into the details of the call, and we will have a short interview with the two on what the call entails, how you can prepare for it, why we're doing it, I would like to bring back Slido and ask you two questions. So the first question that we are interested in is, have you already tried to increase your project's impact by coordinating with other projects or funding instruments? So, 3 options only. Yes, and we'd like to do more of that. Not yet, but we are hoping that the capitalization call could be an opportunity. And no, I'm not interested in coordinating with others and taking up results. I expect that those in the room will not vote for the no, but maybe online there's someone who by now says no, for sure not. I didn't make the effort to come to Vienna, so I'm really not interested. So let's see. Let's see what comes out of this. All right. As we heard in the panel discussion, quite a few of you have experience with coordination across program silos, let me call it that way. So half of you, and also we heard that this often needs individual champions. So you seem to be among those individual champions that do this. And another half has not done so yet, but believe that the call could be an opportunity. And with 130 people and 1% not interested, sorry, I'm not a mathematician, so it's 1.3 persons who are not really interested in this. So let's maybe look into the second question. Do you plan to apply with us in this call then? Yes, we will definitely apply. Let's see what Christiane and Luca will say. We might apply, or we are not sure yet at all, and let's see. So we have nearly 100 answers. Half of you want to apply. We will come to the budget later of that call. You might be disappointed when you see that. I heard yesterday that there's not that much money in this call probably, but it's good to see the high interest. Luca, let's see. Not like a standard call at least. So you might apply. Yes, we will definitely apply. Now that I said this number is going down. Very interesting to see. And we are not sure yet. 20% from 130 persons. So interesting numbers. Christiane, let's maybe start with you. You already have a microphone that works, I hope.
Yes.
This final call of our program in this program period is different from our standard calls. You already said it's the final call, and we call it a strategic call for capitalization. So to make this a little more concrete for everyone in the audience, what exactly is strategic about the call objective and why does it matter?
Yeah, I mean, the next slide shows basically already the call objective, which means, I mean, we touched on this already in the welcome. We have heard a lot, in particular in the panel discussion, so I think my part here will be shorter than expected because many things have been already touched. Luca is more than on the technical things, so please listen to him more carefully. And but basically, what we said already, we would like to reduce the effects of borders on flows and functional linkages among Central European regions for a more competitive and resilient Central Europe. I mean, basically, to put it short, we would like to enhance the impact of cooperation. We would like to enhance the impact of Interreg. And if we talk about the effects of borders, it's of course, we do not have borders, as we have heard also, to other member states, but also other internal borders and borders in social history, in cultural issues, in language issues, in topographical issues, and so on. But maybe if we give you a hint why we had this vision, why we said, okay, we should test it, we should dive into that. Partly, if I look at me as an institution, we have 3 cross-border programs at the city. We are participating in 2 transnationals more actively, which is Central and Danube. And even in our department, it's sometimes difficult to find the synergies of what our project holders are doing, to have the overview and so on. So I think in our institutions, we feel the need to do so. But even more, if we look a little bit at geography, we can give you a hint why we do so. I mean, we did not do this map because here sea is gray and land is blue. So it's just maybe to wake you up to get a little bit better oriented. So the continents are in blue. And this map gives you a bit of a sense of border density. So with how many borders is a person affected, and you see that there is kind of, so the more borders we do have, the more we go into these reddish colors. And you see that there is basically a big focus in Central Europe and Southeast Europe. So if we zoom in to the next slide, this is already going a little bit more deeper. So you see this is the Central Europe area, but also the Southeast Danube area. But here we have a concentration of borders, a border density. And of course, we have heard what Irene said. Okay, in the harvesting report, it says it's also very diverse. It brings a lot of cultural impacts, but we know it's also challenging. It also brings a lot of challenges. And if we go to the you have seen, and we touched it already in the many speeches, starting from the keynote speech and then the discussion. It's not only the borders between the member states, it's also the inner borders, it's urban, rural division, it's demographic change, it's social. So we have, and the Iron Curtain, which we should also not forget here in Central Europe, that is still affecting our program area. The negative effects of borders are, it's clear. It has from the statistic we know, it has a negative effect on growth, employment. Basically, it says we lose about 3% of GDP or jobs just due to having the borders, and it lowers the efficiency. This is where there are solutions for the challenges. We know it. As we have heard, Interreg is there for already 3 decades. There are a lot of solutions, but some of them are not really put on a higher level. They remain at local level, and they do not unfold their effects.
Maybe I can come in here, Christiane. 2 comments on this. First of all, to increase the efficiency of our audience, maybe a piece of information. We will share the slides after the conference, so you don't have to take your tablets or computers and or smaller phones sometimes, I saw, to take pictures of the presentation. So the slides can be downloaded from our website after the conference, soon after the conference. And talking about lower efficiency, you said it already. I mean, basically, my understanding would be this is exactly what Interreg programs are doing already. So I'm just wondering, like, what the issue is here.
But if we have a look, maybe there we have the 2 maps. On the left one, you see the cross-border programs that are in the Central Europe program area. So we have 22 of them. So we have a very, very high number of cross-border programs. And on the right side, you see the linkages, so the partnerships in Central Europe. This is this this net, the total number of partnerships inside Central Europe. And what we see is that, and what was touched many times, therefore I think I do not need to go into deep with that, we have unique programs, and I think it's okay because they go to the CBC programs, they go to the specific needs of the regions that form a CBC program. They do also make a lot of solutions to their challenges, and in a transnational program we have a bigger geography. We are doing some more spatial solutions and activities. It's easier a bit for us to involve different institutional organizations and also to lift the results in transnational to a policy level, which is sometimes more difficult on the CBC. But what can be said is that the issues, the challenges are similar, but they really approach them from different angles. So a CBC program and the transnational might have the same issue, but they look at it from different angles. And I think this is what we would like to overcome with this call. So we'd like to see relevant outputs and that could be put in a new, that could be tailored, that could be transferred, that could be lifted and scaled up. So this is what basically the call is about, by giving it a bit of a coordination. I think this is what the new call is also about, and to I think it was breaking the silos. I think we heard this already in the morning session, in the panel. First of all, we would take relevant outputs, or invite you to come with relevant outputs, because we have heard not all outputs are fitting to be, put together in a new transnational project, and then to combine them and hopefully to come to new solutions that give Interreg a bigger impact.
Thank you, Christiane. I think the objective is kind of clear now. Let's see if we get questions later on. Feel free already to enter some of your questions already now in Slido. We will come back to this after this part. So I think it's pretty straightforward, the objective. But now, how to do it, Luca? I think there is something that is new and not new at the same time. Can you say something more about this? Can you reveal how Interreg Central Europe wants to tackle this? How do we want to bring this into practice, this objective?
Well, thank you, Frank, and also very much hello from my end. So to say, I think the panel said many things this morning. We heard already many keywords, and now my job is much easier, because I have just to put all the keywords we heard this morning in a context, in a framework. On the other hand, people in this room came to me this morning and said, Luca, why are you complicating your life so much? What is about this call? What are you doing? I didn't get still. Even though I'm sitting in your monitoring committee, I didn't get it still. I don't say who said it. And, well, the idea is an idea that we tested already in the 14-20 period with Horizon programs and other centrally managed programs. In a way, it is more difficult to explain rather than to do it. Basically, the idea, also thinking to what Morey said this morning, you have results, outputs, which are very much fitting to the specificities of a territory, which are designed by a program which is specific for that area. Fine, super. However, the point and the secret is not simply to transfer things, to take something and put somewhere else. Maybe sometimes it works, but most of the time you need to work on that. So the idea is that as soon as you have an issue, a specific problem that you want to address with your project, and I'm talking now to the project holders, you have to look there, and for sure, even if you think that nobody had a brilliant idea like your idea, maybe there is somebody who had similar ideas, and maybe there are already some outputs there. And the idea of our call is to look into outputs and results of our transnational projects, outputs and results of cross-border projects which are addressing those borders, which are somehow limiting the functional linkages between regions in Central Europe as a functional area, and to reach it even with other relevant outputs which might be out there, which might include from other programs, but also knowledge, also research, and whatever. The idea is to start from there, around a certain topic which is very much clear for your project, and then with the money we are giving, because we heard today, in order to do things, you need also some money. What we want to do with our capitalization project is to make this permanent laboratory that Mr. Honsel mentioned this morning. We have to go beyond the business as usual, beyond the long, still standing recipes, and go into something which can be useful. So you have to imagine the capitalization project as a laboratory, which is, with the little money we are giving, adjusting, tailoring, further developing outputs and results which are already there. Adjusting to what? Adjusting to the new needs, and adjusting to the new people that you want to address. For what? For having better impact. Impact meaning in two directions. One direction is to reach the policy level. We heard already this morning how important it is to reach the policy level with issues that are maybe very local. And this is what we call upstreaming. And then the other direction of the impact is to reach out new territories, new sectors, and new target groups. This is what we call downstreaming of our impact. I don't know, Frank, if I answered correctly.
This we will see in the question and answer session, really. So maybe to take away a long list of questions on these this terminology, upstream and downstream. Those that are with us for a while already, talking about those that are coming from the transnational bubble, you might be familiar with this because, as Lucas said, we did this already in the past programming period, in the final call back then, together with Horizon projects. But we are also now doing it with cross-border projects, and there's many of you in this room, and you might hear this for the very first time. So, Luca, maybe you could go a little bit deeper on this upstreaming and downstreaming.
Yeah, and this is a little bit also the essence of this concept of this call and what we expect from the capitalization projects. Upstreaming means, as we said before, we have this laboratory, which is taking existing outputs and results, and they are tailored to what? To the needs of, or in a way that these products, which were funded by Interreg, can influence policies, can influence territorial strategies. So they can be at the thematic level, they can be at the territorial level. It depends on the issue you want to address. We have also to keep in mind, we are talking in this call about border issues. And not always, but sometimes borders are far away from capitals, meaning that you have the solution for a border issue very clear, very well defined in a border, but then the capital, which is 600 kilometers away, is not affected, is not feeling participated. We heard this morning a clear recommendation. You have to have the policymaker from the beginning, not from the end. And the idea of upstreaming is exactly this, to bring the policymaker at the beginning of the capitalization project in order to encourage the take-up of the results into the policy. On the other side, we have the downstreaming. The downstreaming is about reaching out new territories. I was speaking one day with one managing authority of a cross-border program who told me, Luca, we have our nice program. We are delivering amazing results in our border, but you know what? Our programs are working like islands. Different programs don't know exactly what the other program is doing, what the other border is doing. So, of course, it is not about transferring. It's about tailoring. It's just about, as Maury said this morning, capitalizing in a wider sense. We need, with this project, with our laboratory we are giving with the money for, we expect you to tailor these results in a way that new target groups can be reached out. How? It is up to you. It is a bottom-up approach. It is you who are the experts who can tell us how to do it. We just give you the tools and the support.
Okay, thank you very much, Luca. I think it's about time to shock some people in the audience and tell them which topics we are not going to fund in this call, or are we going to fund all of them?
No, I want to tell you very, don't worry, relax. We are going to fund everything, but everything which is in our program. I'm sorry for the other transnationals, but we are doing for Central Europe this one. But I will come back to that on the other transnational later. We are funding projects under all our 4 program priorities and 9 program-specific objectives. So all applications can be submitted under all topics we have in our program. In practical terms, this means that we can capitalize results coming from projects approved in our first and second call, which are 100 projects. It's not that little amount of people. We are talking about 1,200 beneficiaries which are out there. So this is the good news. But, there is a but. Everything is eligible, everything is possible, but we encourage to especially consider thematic areas which have a higher capitalization potential. Okay, somebody could tell me, how did you find out these areas? And the answer is that we had a thorough study which was done last year by very good experts which are also in this room. I want to mention them openly, ME Factory, together with Rosiniak and partners, that developed this study, made out and tried to map where are cross-border outputs and results, how they fit and how they match with the transnational results we have, and on top of it, cross-check with the, let's say, level of importance that these topics have against our program area. And this is where this list comes from. Don't worry, don't need to take pictures. It is published already, but it is just about to mention that this is some recommendation. If you don't address these topics, it doesn't mean that your project will not be funded. If you address this topic, it doesn't mean that your project will be funded. Because it doesn't give, let's say, a priority in the selection, but still it's kind of encouragement, a nudging we are going to offer to you.
I have to admit, I was not worried about people taking pictures of this, but I was worried that you might start reading out the slide, Luca. So I much appreciate that we gain at least 5 minutes now. So as you said, this is published on the website. You can have a closer look at that. But I would like to come back to this idea of what Castianis said, breaking the silos between the programs, because this is all nice, but this sounds like a normal course so far. So what exactly will be the requirements? Then, yeah, we call it minimum requirements for synergies in these projects.
Yeah, the call is about synergies and capitalization through synergy. So we believe that in order to make a change, it's not enough to work on the single thing. You need also to mobilize a critical mass. That's why we set a minimum requirement, meaning that if you don't comply with this, you're not eligible. The requirement is that you have to capitalize in one project results and outputs coming from two cross-border, two transnational projects of Central Europe, meaning two of those 100 projects which were funded in the first and second call, plus two Interreg cross-border cooperation projects, 21-27, but also can be 14-20. We are aware that in some border areas there might be programs which are a little bit ahead in implementation. Therefore, what counts for us is to address the border issue. It doesn't matter if it was a 21-27 or a 14-20 program. The minimum requirement is fulfilled if these two projects are coming from the 22 programs which are addressing border inside Central Europe. The list is published on the website. When the slides will be distributed, you link on this text and you will get into the list. So, but this is the minimum requirement. This doesn't mean that you cannot capitalize other things. If they are relevant for the issue you have to address. So, we very much encourage, if relevant, to capitalize results and outputs coming from other programs, including, of course, Interreg Central Europe 14-20, with projects which ended like 3 years ago. Other transnational programs, there are 6 transnational programs which are, with which we share part of our areas. The Adriatic, the Alpine Space, the Baltic Sea, the North Sea, the Northwest region, and the Danube program. And I'm happy to say that today there are some of these program representatives sitting here in this room. And I'm very happy they are here. Then, of course, cross-border programs of other borders. I don't know, there might be amazing solutions between Italy and France, or between Croatia and Serbia, which might be relevant for the internal borders. Why not? They can be taken up, no problem. And of course, as mentioned by Cristiane, borders are not only the national borders. There are also internal borders between urban, rural areas. There are even borders in the mindset of people sometimes. If you think of the Iron Curtain crossing Germany in two, you know, it's not a border, but still it is a border. So that's why we very much welcome also the capitalization of mainstreaming programs. And then, very important, we heard today about this amazing tool which is giving legal competence, legal knowledge on how to concretely address a specific border issue. This is funded by the B-Solution initiative of the European Commission. And when we will publish the call, we will have a compendium of the B-Solutions which are addressing internal borders of Central Europe. So we very much encourage. What I want to recommend is that it's not the more is the merrier. It has to be relevant. It's not that the more you put together, the highest chance you get to be funded. You need to take only those cherries which make sense for the strategy of your project.
Thank you, Luca. I'm pretty sure that those of you that know us in the audience know that there's more project features. I think Luca will inform us about these in a second. But as I also said, it's not a standard course, so we have a different budget size. Whether small or not, depends on the perspective. Yeah. And we also have, of course, a timeline already, because this call is not being launched today. This is a preview of the call, so we are giving you a head start into building the partnerships that are necessary in identifying the solutions that you want to build on. So, Luca, maybe you have a few more,
yes,
a few more words on this.
I will be very quick, much quicker than before now. These are the project features. I don't want to spend too much time. I just want to emphasize two things. One thing, projects have to be on time, not more than 24 months, because the things are already there. You are going to tailor existing outputs and results. You're not going to develop something from scratch. So you need to be on time, even because we need to close a program. And we will talk later about that later when we talk about the call timeline, but still, between 18 to 24 months maximum, the budget is up to 1 million. We heard already this morning that maybe a project with 60,000 euro made a change. It's not about money. And as I said before, we are tailoring existing outputs and results. That's why we believe that 1 million euro of ERDF, which is then topped up by national co-financing, is more than enough. I want also to emphasize that these are the so-called operations of strategic importance. This is how they are defined in the regulation. Basically, in the understanding of the Interreg Central Europe program, these projects are strategic for one main reason, because they widen and multiply the impact and effects that projects we already funded. In other words, they are increasing the efficiency and effectiveness of the program. That's why it is strategic. But still, these are fully bottom-up projects. Given that they are of this strategic importance, they will benefit from special communication and information activities. We will take care of them. We make them even more visible in order to help the Commission and the legislator in the mission of making cohesion policy more visible towards our stakeholders. When it comes then to close to the core budget, we have around 23 million euro. It means of ERDF, it means that it's up to at least 23 projects. It's not bad. It's not bad. And basically, it's important to say here that these funds will be allocated not only at priority level, but also at specific objective level. What does it mean? We have 4 priorities, 9 specific objectives. This means that the competition will be within the specific objective in which you are picking up for preparing your proposal. So it will be quite a tough competition, but still this will allow us to fund projects under all specific objectives. And then when it comes to the timeline, as said by Frank, we launched the call on 29th of September, we closed 27th of November, 2 months. We have published already the information now, so you can start working on now. And what is important to say is that we want to be quick in the assessment and in the selection, because we want to have the project selected, let's say, by summer 2026, because then they have to start not later than September, maximum October 2026. If you count 24 months, then you end up to October 2028, and this is when basically we have to close the program. So this is the timeline. Please start working now.
Thank you very much, Luca. That's a very clear message. As a matter of fact, the call will already close in half a year's time. That's very little time. And you might be wondering, where will I find these solutions, these outputs and results now from Interreg Central Europe? Where will I find them maybe from cross-border programs, the projects there? You might be wondering, is this it, the conference, and then they will shut down the office and leave us alone until the deadline of the call? Is there going to be other support? So Christiane, I think you have good news here.
Yeah, of course. I mean, going beyond what you can gain from today's meeting, you know, from the workshops that will be then in the afternoon or meeting and networking today, we have a so-called applicant community, which is a platform that allows you, in particular, those coming from the CBC world, but also new users, because it's open, it's not a closed community, so everyone can register and start being a part of this community to building your partnership. What will you find in the applicant community? So you find all the Central Europe program partners there. You can filter them by geography, by thematic focus, but also by institutional structure or organization, in order to just kind of find your way through looking for partners. More is possible on the community, because you can also post there, you can look at what project ideas are already there, you can also post your own project idea, and you can use the platform for communication. So you can set up meetings with your partnership, and also when the program will get in touch with applicants, and also in the communication and information sessions, this will be done via the applicant community. So what's important, it's open also for newcomers, and in particular for the CBC project partners. Yes. And so this is the partnership. So where can I find my way to get my partners? But how can I learn more about the project outputs that have been done in Central Europe? Here you can go and find all the results and outputs in the project gateway. So we have on our website the so-called project gateway. Every project is under a sub-website, and the running projects, and there you find all the information, how far they are, what they are doing, what they have achieved, and in which thematic fields they are engaging. Just to give you, as was mentioned already, we have 100 running projects under a first call and the second call. At the moment, we have more than 1,000 partners. We have more than 1,000 outputs that have been already reported there. We have more than 350 pilots. So there is a lot that you can have a look, where you can also, again, filter and find your way. As a next step, we have also to think about the Central Europe partner. Where do they find their CBC projects and outputs? Here we would suggest that you have a look at in two databases. One is the Keep EU database, where you have all the CBC programs and their outputs, but also cohesio.eu. So also there you can find information, and you can, of course, you have first to filter a little bit geographically, because they cover, of course, the whole EU, and then you can go about along themes, countries, and try to find your way to the outputs. So this is a first possibility to get a bit of a more orientation. What will the program offer to you further? So we have four big areas. First of all, webinars. Maybe you mark your calendar that on the 29th of September we will have a big call launch webinar. And after about 2 to 3 weeks, this will be followed up by a Q&A session. So again, a webinar, so you have the call launch, you have worked over the summer, you have kind of a first idea, and then if you have discussed this with your partnership, 2 to 3 weeks after the end of September, there will be a dedicated Q&A webinar where you can pose your questions, and we will try to give your answers. There will be, of course, as you are used in Central Europe, tutorials, video tutorials and explainers with the key aspects of the call. When will they be posted? We will try to do it already over the summer so that you can really start working now. And national support, not to forget. On member state level, you will get specific information sessions also in your national language to make it a little bit easier to get even more information on this. And last but not least, we offer from the program individual consultations. So you can come with your draft application and discuss it with the Joint Secretariat team. I would like just to say that it is not mandatory. So it's not mandatory that you do this, but it is highly recommended. So it's highly recommended that you take also this service that we are giving to you in the program. Yes, I think that's from the support measures.
Thank you very much, Christiane. I think there's a lot there. Maybe for the cross-border people among you that are not familiar with our program so much yet, what Christiane mentioned is the National Contact Point Network. So we have national contact points in each country that are happy to help you further to better understand what our program does, what we do, and also to understand better where to find outputs and results of our projects. So it's always a good first point of contact to go to the contact points and also to their events. So before we move into the Q&A, I think we can have a big round of applause for the two speakers, for Christiane and Luca already. They managed to present a not so complicated, we find, you might think rather complicated, probably, call in very short time. And I think it's become very clear, but maybe I'm totally mistaken. So let's reveal Slido and see how many questions we will see there. Sorry. By the way, I think what is important to say is also, we are already, again, 15 minutes over time. We will take a few questions. The ones that we see that are coming repeatedly or upvoted here on Slido, we will take with us after the conference. We will publish them on our website in the frequently asked questions section. And obviously also we can answer them if you get in touch with the Secretariat or the contact points, most of the questions. But let's dive into your questions and start with the top one by Judith Fügel. Can an organization be a lead partner who has only been involved in cross-border projects, or should the organization have a previous experience with Central Europe?
No, it can be any organization.
Is it on, Luca? Sorry. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, okay. No, it can be any organization, irrespective whether they were before involved into any Interreg project. So it's really depending on the project as such. We don't set any limitation. The only limitations are those set in the program manual, where they say capacity and eligibility of beneficiaries.
Thank you. This was a very pressing question. As we can see, it was upvoted 11 times. Another one that we have here, is it possible to participate if the project is still ongoing and some outputs are not yet delivered?
Well, this is an interesting question indeed, because we are launching the call in autumn 2025, and we are expecting project start in autumn 2026. So the answer is yes, it is possible, as soon as then when it will be the time to capitalize, we have something to capitalize. So at a time point, there has to be something that is relevant, that is finished, that you can take forward. Keep in mind that we are talking about projects here, but you are not capitalizing projects. You are capitalizing outputs, tools, things that projects have produced. So even if the project is ongoing, but there is a tool which is amazing, which is already available, this tool can be capitalized. And that's why it's important to keep this in mind.
Thank you, Luca. May I ask if Judith is in the room today? Do you want to ask the question maybe directly? We will give you a microphone. It's coming from the back. The one that is on top now.
Yeah, so is it worth including projects with the same theme as a core project, or is it enough if there's only one element of similarity?
Well, it goes back to my previous answer. It's about tools, outputs. I have in mind projects which capitalized a concept for crowdfunding, which was applied in a completely different environment. But the tool was then developed in another project. It still works. So it doesn't matter, or it's not so important whether the different projects are addressing the same issue. It depends what you are going to capitalize. As I said before, focus on relevant outputs and results. This is what counts, because this is what you are capitalizing.
Luca, you see, I was hoping we get 0 questions on upstreaming and downstreaming, and here it is. Is both upstreaming and downstreaming obligatory or recommended in one project?
The answer short is no.
Meaning? Meaning exactly what?
It's not obligatory, and you can either do only upstreaming or downstreaming or both. It's really up to the project. We also said the budget is up to 1 million, but if you want to have something very specifically focused, maybe for upstreaming, which you don't have to develop anything, and simply bring and involve the stakeholder, and for this you need 300,000 euro, it's enough, it's okay. It is absolutely fine as soon as it is logic and it is fitting with the aim of the call.
All right. Should a project focus on a single specific objective, or can there be a capitalization of interrelated topics? Going into a similar direction?
I was looking for my colleague Monica, who would look at me very strangely. So, ciao Monica. The answer is that the project has to be in one specific objective in order to be eligible for funding in Central Europe. Still, as I said before, you might gain knowledge coming from different sectors. Still, so as soon as the aim of the project stays with the topic you want to address, with the issue you want to address, then multidisciplinary approaches are very much welcome. I hope Monica answered correctly.
I just heard it perfect for those that didn't hear it. From Monica, exactly. So the next one, there's a researcher among us, I suppose, or someone working in research projects. Is this person in the room, maybe? Do you want to ask that question directly? There's always the problem with Slido, because you don't get much from the floor, because it's all digital then. So you haven't mentioned Horizon projects, Luca, among those to be capitalized upon. If I'm right, they were included in the past call. Yes, they were, the 4th call. That was the focus in the past programming period. So what's the situation now?
The list of programs we are, let's say, expecting on results to be capitalized is not exclusive. Basically, as soon as an Horizon project, a live project, has delivered a tool, an output, which is relevant for the issue you are going to address, it can be included. But I want to mention again, it's not the more the merrier. You have to have a clear vision, a clear logic of your project. Focus on the important things.
And I guess this applies also to Interreg Europe projects then, as we can see here, just to make Nicolas sleep better.
There is nothing excluded. There is
so
nothing excluded.
Your projects can also come to us in this call and bring in the results and outputs. So nothing excluded there. So this we had already, no? There is a question. Carsten Davis, please. The floor is yours. You will get a microphone in a second, I hope.
Microphone
is coming. It's a long way.
5 seconds, usually.
Thank you. Yes, a question. I'm still stuck with the 4 projects that are needed on board. And since this is supposed to be are we supposed to bring in outputs from every of those 4 projects? So, or is it that one project brings in something, a tool, as you mentioned, and the others reapply it, or adapt it, partners from the other projects? Or is it that we need to get outputs from all of the 4 projects, the 2 Central European and the 2 cross-border projects?
this is a strategic for capitalization. This means that the 4 projects which are addressed by your application need to provide something to the capitalization project. Therefore, the 4 projects have something to be capitalized. But this is, let's say, and the reason for that is that, as I mentioned also before, in order to make a change, you need to mobilize critical mass. And we want to go beyond the knowledge developed by a specific partnership and want to enrich it.
I think there's a logical follow-up question on this, Luca. Also, should we include at least one project partner then from each of those projects that you're capitalizing on? So does that mean you have 4 project partners already on board automatically through the 4 projects?
Let's say there is not an obligation, there is not a requirement, as for those who have longer history of Central Europe might remember it was in the 4th call 1420. There is no requirement, but still we encourage to involve in the project, in the capitalization project, the people that were developing these things, these outputs that you are going to capitalize. On top of it, we recommend to involve also those partners which are participating in the upstream or downstream, because we said, you want to influence policies, you need to have the policymaker. So it is not an obligation, it is anyway very much welcome, and it will be also assessed. It will be part of the quality assessment. It's also important to mention that if you are capitalizing a product, a tool, for example, a digital tool, a database, you need to be sure that you have the authorization to use it. It seems very logic, but we had cases in which there were projects capitalizing on something they were not authorized to use. So
this is actually answering kind of like the next question, and then I come to the ones from the floor again. I come back to that. So can a regular project partner submit a proposal without the approval of the LP? And then the bottom one, should partnerships include previous project partners responsible for the past outputs, or can those just be used without notifying? So I think it goes into that direction exactly.
If you can, of course, it can be something freely available, but I think it's important anyway to have the knowledge, because a tool is made of knowledge, and the knowledge, if it is in your project, is enriching your project.
Then we have another question from Gregor.
Okay, just a short follow-up for the previous question. I think it's a very good idea that the partner developing should be involved. What in case that this cross-border project is implemented by the same partner, which is also in one of the Central Europe partners? Is that enough to represent both projects with one partner, or is recommended, not recommended? What do you say?
It's totally fine. This is reality, and very often, especially large institutions, are involved in more projects. So it's totally fine if the same partner, which is, I would say, is normal even, that the same partner is in a transnational project, in a cross-border project, and maybe in another transnational of another program. So it's totally fine, and there is no problem with that.
There's one more question here.
Gerald Stöger. The term output is defined in Central Europe, but in the cross-border programs that I know, what is an output? This word output does not exist, because it's in local language. It's maybe called indicator. But what do you understand by output?
No, thank you for the question. It is anyway a challenge. On one hand, I have to say we have a definition. I don't know if it can help, but still we have a definition in our program manual, what we mean for output and result. On the other hand, we have a good luck that Interreg exists. Interreg developed a common terminology among programs, including the cross-border programs. So I understand that it is not always so clear, but still this terminology is not invented by Central Europe, it's coming from the work, the amazing work, I have to say, that Interreg did in order to help us, program authorities, to speak I wouldn't say with the same voice, but at least with a similar voice with the same beneficiaries. And that's, where you can get further information. But still, we are there with the support measures to help you. If you have a doubt, ask us. We offer you the individual consultations, and there you can pose this question on a specific issue. The contact points are there in your language to help you, and they have an amazing and perfect understanding of what is the point. So make use of this support as from now, because we have still time.
Actually, we don't, Luca. 4 minutes to 1. So I'm wondering, I see that the questions start to repeat a little bit. It's very sunny out there. Networking was, I think, the biggest word in the word cloud. So I think we should come to an end here. As I say, like we will look into your Slido questions. Feel free to throw in a few more. We will cover them in the FAQ section. But maybe there's one final message regarding this call before we move into the lunch break, and then I have some practical details to announce. So would you have a closing word maybe before?
Well, I think, as you said, it's a long morning session. I think people are already up to get some lunch and then to start to do the networking. So I would just like to repeat what I said in the welcome address. Take the most out of the day, enjoy, discuss, get to know the partners or the colleagues that are here, and we would, of course, be very happy. We would be very happy to see then, in the end, also your applications in the autumn. Thank you.
And maybe from my end, I just want to pick up on the inspirations we got this morning. I mean, at the end of the day, to make Central Europe more united, more resilient, is not up to us, program authorities, it's up to you. We count on you in setting up these laboratories which are going to take the, let's say, still standing recipes and make something new, which is very much tailored to what we really need to make, at the end of the day, Europe better, because Central Europe is in the middle. So thank you, good work, and good luck.
Thank you very much. You can leave the stage. You can leave the stage now. You can leave. So. So before we now head to the lunch break and the afternoon sessions, a quick reminder. You all have your badges, and on these badges you will find your workshops, the ones that you registered to. And it's important to have a look at this, because I will soon show you here the floor plan. But maybe also one thing that is important to remember is this room is going to be turned into a workshop room. So the workshop on program capitalization management for program authorities and policy makers will take place in this room. So when you leave this room, since we need to reshuffle things, please take all your belongings with you. We have a cloakroom downstairs out there, or you just take it with you if it's not too heavy what you have during the lunch break, so that we can reshuffle this place here. And then, having said this, where are the other workshops? I'm not going to go into detail here, because anyways, you might have forgotten by the time you leave this room. But on the badge, again, you will find a QR code. Same story as with Slido. You just scan the QR code. You will find the agenda there, including the floor plan. Most of the workshops will be, maybe very important information. Lunch will be served in the orangerie. It's super nice. It's there. And it's in between you and the workshops. So I'm a little bit afraid, I have to say, that we can start the workshops on time. But anyways, we are running a little late. So my recommendation would be it's 1 o'clock now. We will close in a few seconds. But maybe we can start the workshops at 2:15. But please be there sharp on time, because the workshops are as good as the people that are there. So we are going to hear what are the outputs and results. So if you want to have a solid base of maybe creating new partnerships, it's very important you are there in the workshops pretty much on time at 2:15. Also, don't miss out on our networking space, which is in front of our room here. There's a photo box. Who has made use of the photo box already? Very few. I mean, maybe you can take a turn through the main entrance of the building. It's very nice, a very nice memory, maybe of your new partnership. And well, this is now the time then to say goodbye to those that have been following us online. Unfortunately, you will not be with us in the workshops, but we are very much looking forward to seeing the project ideas you're coming up with on the applicant community. There's already 9 of them. Maybe there will be more already very soon. So, thank you very much. And here in the room, lunch is now served. And enjoy yourselves and see you in the workshops and have a nice afternoon.